Hello, 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 hello. How goes it? How goes it? Um so first impressions of this episode is it did seem to drag, unlike I would say the last episode, it lacked the really powerful drama of various scenes and various actors to really like push it. I think the standout scene for me in this whole episode was actually Alicent talking to Gawain. That was like a very good. That was a very good scene of the siblings um, interacting. I mean, Alicent is really carrying the episodes. Actually, the Olivia Cook is just doing a phenomenal job this season, carrying most of the scenes. Her pain that she feels over Aegon was really fantastic. Yeah, like I say, talking to Gawain about her son and that interaction of brother and sister and how they feel about their father and things like that. I think that was all fantastic. But when I think of all the other like scenes, like Aemond has gone full villain, so he's kind of one dimensional at this point. Um, the Damon stuff, I think it's strong. It's fine, but we're kind of treading old territory with it. Um, I think Alice Rivers is a joy every time she's on screen. But then it's just who was digging the Reyna plot? Who was digging Adam of Hull just getting chosen out of the sky to be a rider? With no drama. And of course, like the elephant in the room, like who saw, like, unless you read leaks, like who would have seen the Rhaenyra Mysaria kiss? And it's not that I'm not for same-sex romance. But there was just no on-screen chemistry, zero leading up to this. I mean, compare it to the on-screen chemistry between young Rhaenyra and young Alicent. Those actresses spent time working with each other, had established like who the characters were and how they felt about each other, and did want to have that flirtiness in there. Carmine's jumping in already. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my thing to download. Yo, what the fuck, man? Like, still, episode wasn't bad. Still not boring to me, but fuck, they're dragging their
Yeah,
feet.
I mean, it's
Holy
not completely
shit.
boring. I would say it is, like, if people are complaining about boring, like, this is probably the most boring episode so far.
I would agree
Um,
with that, but even then, it's still not that
yeah, it's
boring.
not. I'm not saying it's that bad, but
They're dragging
um,
shit out. That's
they're
it
dragging
reminds me
shit
of
out.
it's
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me a little. It's not as bad as the boys because the boys, like I said before, it's almost as though the showrunner for the boys for season 4 do dragged his feet for 6 episodes, then cooked the hell out of the last two.
Hmm.
Clearly, we've had some phenomenal episodes before then, but so far this one, it
Did
feels like they
you
picked
did
apart different shit and put it in here. Like it feels like scraps from other episodes.
see? Some people are pushing back on me. Do you think there was sexual chemistry
No,
between Rhaenyra
no,
and
no.
like, I'm just comparing it to the sexual chemistry between like young Alicent and young Rhaenyra, which is huge and boiling, and everybody read it and everybody saw it there. And so when the actresses came out and said, "Yeah, no, that's what we intended," everybody's like, "Okay, we saw it. What great work." But I just didn't see or feel anything with Mysaria and uh, Rhaenyra. But I don't know. I guess some people thought there was sexual tension before that, and you know that's it's I don't know. It was just a kind of unexpected to me because I just didn't feel that chemistry between them. But I guess it was there. I guess it was there. I don't know. Um, you know, hmm, they trauma bonded over Damon. It was a little weird. My first, and this is a horrible thing, is like a horrible thing, like horrible thought when Masari was telling her backstory, and she's like, "Oh, my father, like." had sex with me. And my first thought is like, she's Targaryen. She's like, yeah, what's wrong with that?
Jesus Christ.
Well, that was my first thought. Like, what's up? Like, I don't understand. Where does the trauma part come in? I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, oh man.
Are you gonna get to the super chats? Because there's a couple
Um,
here that are a
well, the
little
thing is,
ridiculous.
the first one's on Biden, but I'm sure I'm going to get no. I guess there's a few before that, but I don't want to get into Biden yet. But the Laris Aegon talk mirrors Tyrion Bran in Game of Thrones. I have.
Mm, I need to go back and watch it. I don't know about that. I
I
need to go
mean,
back and watch it.
if I'm remembering season 8 correctly, I mean, Tyrion shares a very brief scene with Bran where he's like, "Tell me your story," and then they have an off-screen conversation, and then he comes back at the Great Council with the big like Bran the Broken like story, um, and this. I mean, I think that like Laris's monologue was one of the highlights of the episode. Really just explaining like his thought process and what he felt, and like a little explanation on why he secretly hated his dad and resented him. Um, maybe they could have added something in the brother too, and to explain why he secretly resented his like brother and father. Like, but they should have done that. But it was certainly interesting. The actor did a really good job, like him trying to play it stoic, but you feeling the emotion underneath, and the pain he felt. But I thought that was one of the best scenes of the episode was Laurie Strong's monologue. Um, but I don't know. I didn't feel the parallel to Tyrion Bran. I'm trying to think of any like parallel to Bran. Um, I mean, I suppose you could probably, had they written it a little differently, you could probably do a more like Bloodraven to Bran kind of like thing in there. Like you will always be broken, but you will fly, or something like that. But that wasn't it. That was not at all really like Aegon. Somebody else had the same idea that I was saying, Carmine, right here. I was like, oh gosh, but it was just one of the rock, like it was just um, one of those horrible thoughts I had. Um, yeah, the um,
Well, if I were you, I would just tackle that later. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna
because
tackle Mossy later, and when they come back.
I'm going to be very real with you. Maybe you don't get this, but I get this impression every time anyone brings up anything. Not most people, but I feel like half of the people that do. I always feel as though they're trying to like poke at you to like get some like random ass reaction out of you, like a ha type of reaction. So
No, I mean I'll talk about the whole thing. I mean,
I know you will, but
there. I mean,
now already.
there's a lot to talk about with regards to, and I'll get into it later with regards to what AOC and Bernie said before
Mm,
Biden dropped out. There's a lot to say about like the infighting within the Democratic Party. There's a lot to say about uh, the Black Caucus and their importance. But I'll get into it. I'll get into it later on. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was against Biden dropping out. Now he's dropped out. 100% Kamala. And if anybody tries to take her out, man, I'm going to be really pissed. Because
I
anyway,
mean, Jover is Jover. Now it's commencing. That's the new
okay.
one.
Yeah. Um, so, also, what's most likely? Tyrion is Aerys' child, or Jamie and Cersei? Oh, what's more likely? Tyrion is Aerys' child, or Jamie and Cersei only, or all three, or neither? There are hints in the book that they may be Targaryens and Aerys' children, and Tywin had none. Correct. There were some hints in the book, but I think this was made. This was a big point that was made by Elio and Linda when they had the World of Ice and Fire. In that they nailed in the World of Ice and Fire. They nailed down the date in which Tywin was in Tywin and Joanna were in King's Landing, and Aerys was in. They were in. Sorry, Casterly Rock, and Aerys was in King's Landing, and they actually like said like the book like definitely like shatters this theory that Aerys could be the father of of Jamie and Cersei. I tend to believe it. It's something. It's something that they particularly cared about, and I think they actually mentioned it to George. Like we're gonna have these, like we're gonna list this fact in there, and so I think there's a 0% chance that Aerys is the father of Cersei and Jamie. Um, as for Tyrion, I think it makes a bad story for Tyrion to be the son of Aerys. That said, maybe there were some ideas about him, with the lighter shade of hair and his affinity for dragons. I do toy with the idea, like him having two different colored eyes hints that maybe he's a chimera, the genetic disorder where two different eggs merged together. So you're actually like genetically different on two different parts of your body. Like I know it sounds really weird, but you know, George's into weird genetic stuff, and it's a real possibility that he thought about that. Though I think it makes a much worse story to have Aerys be Tyrion's dad. But there's definitely some possibility timeline wise for it. Um, and this idea of like, oh, if Tyrion's, if you think Tyrion would ride a dragon and things like that, and Tyrion is definitely has dragon dreams, and he's obsessed with dragons, you know, so maybe he's a chimera or something like that. But so I would say there are some hints. I think George definitely left it open for Tyrion just in case, but I don't think he was thinking about it at all with Cersei and Jamie. And I think Elio and Linda really like pushed that point when they did the World of Ice and Fire. So I don't think it that I think that's a 0. But I think George might have left the door open for Tyrion if he wanted, you know, even though I think it's a horrible idea. But I do admit he left the door because he leaves the door open for a lot of things, you know. Hear me out. Preston Jacobs and Red Team Review plus Alt X plus Glidus, one army, real army for a full season roundup. What do you think? I mean, it's all about like whether people have time on their calendars. Like, some people,
Getting you down for a podcast recording is sometimes difficult, and now we have to coordinate two dudes halfway across the world.
right. It's very difficult in that sense. So I understand the fun to have different crossovers and stuff and people chatting. Like people love that. I get it. But it's these things are very difficult to coordinate.
We've had
Um,
Glidus on before, and I love
yeah.
Glidus. I've never met Alt. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I've heard nothing but good things about him. But
Yeah.
we had Glidus on back when you were in Germany, and it was even
Right.
then it was difficult to like coordinate everything. But your schedule was it actually kind of lined up in a sense perfectly with Glidus's in mind because it
Mhm.
was in Europe time. Now that you're back in the U.S., I think it's like when
Yeah.
you're free, he's asleep, and I think when he's free, you're either busy at work or with the kids, or there's a so Preston has for those of
Like
you who don't
well,
know,
they're in
Preston has a
Melbourne.
very short
Yeah.
window.
12 it's currently the after Monday afternoon for them, so it's like a weekday in the middle of the day, that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's tough. But you never know. You never know.
you never
The
know.
we once had a collaboration on Glidus's trivia thing.
Yep.
Glidus's, yeah, yeah. Um, da, da, da. We'll get the spicy politics of going through this. It's like people. Yes, I know people want to talk about spicy politics. So much spiciness today.
I
Um,
even put out a tweet. I even sent this to you. I put out a tweet.
mm,
Did you guys hear the news? No, not that one. The other one that George is releasing a new Wild Cards book.
oh
Yay!
yeah, I know. He sent me that tweet. Good old wild cards, but it's not even George. They don't. First of all, they used to say George R. R. Martin edited. Now it's just George R. R. Martin presents because he does nothing. He does nothing with wild cards now.
He doesn't need to. Did you know,
Yeah.
by the way, speaking of doing nothing, did you know that Dave and Dan turned down producer credits on House of the Dragon? And the HBO lawyers were like, "Why would you do that? It's free money." And they're like, "No, I'm okay." They're both of them are like, "No, we're fine. We don't need it.
What? What
It's
they
free
were
money."
entitled to it?
I guess so. It's part of their contract. Like, yeah, we can put your name on this, and there it is. No, we're okay. We're fine. We don't need the money, but it's free money. No, we're fine. They didn't want it.
Good for them. Good for them.
I'm gonna let Trey see if he wants to join because I'm gonna bounce and do my preview
All right,
thing. But I'll
sounds
check
good.
you out
Yeah,
later.
yeah. Let me know.
Mhm.
Like to haven't heard from Trey in a while. It'd be cool to have Trey on.
I'll hit him up.
Plus when I next time I say that I didn't like I didn't think the Massaria Rhaenyra kiss was so great. At least I have I have more of a shield.
Hey, real quick, because I know I'm not gonna be here for spicy politics. Who do you think Kamala should take as VP? Like, I'm going with Governor
I think
Shapiro.
the governor of Pennsylvania and
Yeah,
is it ex governor of North Carolina? They're both possibilities. I mean, the thing is, it's like you instantly think, well, you shouldn't have a second woman on the ticket. So out goes the woman Gretchen from Michigan, and then she legally can't have someone from California on.
so
So
no Newsom. Like, why
there
would you
goes
want
Gavin
Newsom
Newsom.
anyway?
What's that?
Right?
I'm sorry.
So why would you want Newsom anyway? Like, you're right. The Democrats, as it stands on 270 to win,
Yeah.
they need Pennsylvania to win.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Governor Shapiro cinches that up. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'll be back later.
Cool. Later. Um, Sex aside, Massaria is Rhaenyra's best counselor. I mean, it doesn't take much to be Rhaenyra's best counselor. I'll tell you that. Like her counselors suck. All they do is sit around going, "We need an army, and you can't do anything because you're a woman." And you're like, "Yeah, how are you helping me? How are you helping me, guys? You're telling me what I can't do. What can I do?" Massaria is at least doing something. Like her, first of all, her plan to like win over King's Landing is bonkers insane, but somehow it's working. Like, this idea that like somehow the public would be anti Aegon and Aemond because they're starving, even though she's the one causing the starvation. But then her like letting some boats through, like everybody's like, "Yay, Rhaenyra!" Like it's I mean, they lampshaded it because it's like it's kind of doesn't make any sense. Like Eamon's like, I don't understand why they would be liking her, considering she's the one causing the starvation. And you're like, you're right, Eamon. That's a very good point. They lampshaded it completely. But nonetheless, Massaria is getting stuff done. She's getting stuff done. So, but head and shoulders, she's the best counselor. Nobody else has done anything. Like nothing at all. Nothing at all. So what are you gonna do? Um, was Eric the Queen's Guard, King's Guard, he was the only one that successfully did his job? I mean, I'm trying to think. He did. Oh, like in general, in the sense that like, um, well, okay. So one of our jokes about the King's Guard is that they're really bad at like protecting the king, right? So like Jamie Lannister kills the king, and then Barristan, allows this boar to kill the king, and um, and then Joffrey gets poisoned, and it's like the King's Guard just can't defend anybody, right? I think I even had this like joke about it in one of my videos, and I'm forgetting which one. But who helped defend? I mean, I think the Hound, when he fended off his own bread riots, right? Or no, Sir Preston Greenfield, like those guys, like helped save the king. They died, but you know they did their job at the time. They defended the king at the time. Marin Trant, right? I think it was Marin Trant who like grabbed the king and was like gone. And they're like, but you left Sansa behind. The Hound had to get Sansa, and he's like, yeah, because I was protecting the king. Duh. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, um, so there's a few that have done their job. Um, I mean, even the ones at the Tower of Joy, like ridiculous, like going out of the tower to fight some guys when you should have defended the tower by staying in it. Yeah, so there's very few that help. You know, but man, it's true that Kingsguard, Queensguard are horrible at their job. But here, Darkland just kind of ordered to get on a dragon. Can't do it. It's I thought so. I'm probably going to mention this joke in my um, uh, episode 6 watch, but the fact that Celtigar is right there and no one mentions the fact that he's Valyrian, like it just doesn't come up. Like who's gonna ride these dragons? And it's like Celtigar's right fucking there. Like I don't think the showrunners know that Celtigar is Valyrian house. I just don't think it's on their radar at all. Like I don't think they've considered it. It's just kind of funny. Um, Oh, Preston is shook by Biden dropping out. Yeah, of course. Everybody's shook. Everybody's shook um so mad they took out Nettles. Yeah, it's a really bad choice. Nettles and here's the thing that the kiss was hot. You guys are homophobic. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for some good kisses. I just didn't think there was any sexual tension between the two. Um, Kiss was out of place. It's very split. Rhaenyra is supposedly buying the books. You know, I don't think it. You know, I don't mind them making any characters straight or gay. It doesn't matter for me. But it was just like I say, the Rhaenyra Allison stuff, like was I just thought that was better done. Like you could feel that sexual tension. Um, Templeton 1 will be season 3. Templeton 2 will be season 4. Yeah, probably. Um, um, Not a fan. Love Alice and her owl. Um, I guess they killed Lord Tully. And then Aemon firing his mother is great. That was a good scene. It kind of made sense. Those two kissing after talking about this horrible trauma is so weird and gross. Sup, Kara, my by Nettles. It's a lot. Yeah, that was the weird thing is that they it wasn't just that I didn't feel any sexual tension. It was like they had this weird bond over like, oh gosh, you had this experience with your dad. um I mean, I guess, are they playing into the so the horrible thought I had was like Rhaenyra would hear about the incest and be like, I don't understand what's happening. But now the joke is no, in fact, Rhaenyra was turned on by it, like because Targaryens love incest, and therefore like she got in the mood. Like that's the even worse thought. Like oh god. Um, yeah, I saw it, but it was more like girls being over the same man. It did very much lack the Bechdel test. You know, the Bechdel test is when two women can have a conversation and not have the conversation be about a man. That the the idea is that writers are so stuck in this idea that women are either powerless and only talk about men because they're the ones with power, or they're always stuck in this like relationship kind of situation where they're like pining about men or something. So like the idea is that can two women be in a scene and not talk about men in that scene? And you know, clearly not with Mysaria and Rhaenyra because they're talking about Daemon all day long, you know. But But yeah, a lot of weirdness. I definitely did not like the fact that Nettles is gone. I mean, take the best character of the story and remove her. And here's the thing: like Carmine and I think we talked about this last time, or maybe Carmine talked. We talked about it in our podcast. I blend everything together, but we noticed that there's no fun characters in House of the Dragon. Like, there's nobody that's fun. And now by comparison, like take Game of Thrones. Robert Baratheon is a fun character, right? You know, he's this jovial, big, larger than life character, you know, and he's fun. Jaime Lannister is this cocksure knight character. Theon Greyjoy, also the kind of the same as Jaime Lannister, you know, arrogant, funny. Tyrion, always cracking jokes, cracking jokes. Um, you know, you then we get Dario Naharis, you know, like jovial, funny. Uh, but like, who do we have in House of the Dragon? Like, the funniest character we have is Damon, which is really weird, and maybe Alice Rivers. Like, they're the only ones you could have like say a joke. There's occasionally jokes here and there. Like Kristen Cole had a zinger like in season one, when he's like, perhaps you remember me when I knocked you off your horse. Like, that was great. And even Gawain for a moment, for like half an episode, was a fun guy. And then he had, you know, all the joy beaten out of him by war immediately. Um, you know, Aegon, maybe a little, like, he was a little fun, you know, even though he's a horrible human being, right? I mean, Damon's a horrible human being, but like, who's fun? Everybody's like dour and depressed and serious, like every single person. Um, Maybe Jason Lannister, but Jason Lannister's hardly in it, right? So it's that's the funny thing, right? And so it's just removing a character like Nettles, who could have been so much fun. She could have been so much fun. There's no fun to be had. That's my big critic. Like, yes, the show is well acted and it's well directed, but there's just nobody's having any fun. Um, Eamon was great in this episode, MVP of the season. He's certainly getting darker and darker. You know, he really went off the deep end fast. So they're making him straight up evil villain that Damon needs to destroy, because he's the only one that can do it. Right? I guess they're building up to like moment of desperation. Like, this is the problem. I have to be the martyr to bring him down. Um, More and more the Reyna sheep stealer hints. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it's a bit, you know, it's all a bit coincidental, right? Like, all of a sudden, after how many years, um, Sea Smoke like decides to take another rider, and that's going to be like randomly, like, and all, you know, Reyna's going to claim a dragon around the same time. You know, it's one thing when, like, in the source material, Jace is like, hey, everybody come to Dragonstone and we're all going to jump on dragons at the same time. Like, that makes sense. But it's weird to have these, like, people claiming dragons incidentally, coincidentally, as it fits the plot. Like, it just so happens she finds this wild dragon, like, at this moment. Kind of weird, right? Um, Yeah, teleporters are strong. A dragon teleported to the Vale. Yeah, I guess they're just like shoving Sheep Stealer in there, and that Sheep Stealer may have been there for a while. We don't know, but um, it goes against like George's own lore. But George's lore is, so George wrote this big blog post about how dragons like volcanic areas, but then he forgot that Silverwing lived on Red Lake for years, um, randomly. So, you know, based on the material, you can put a dragon in the Vale, you know. So, but the teleporters, yeah, distances are all odd, because now it's a fortnight march to Harrenhal. Um, when it was a fortnight march to Duskendale. So now it's a fortnight march to Harrenhal. It's like double the distance, but okay. Everybody getting back to King's Landing. Meanwhile, the Hightower army is taking forever to cross to cross the continent, and now is getting met by Beesbury's army. House Beesbury is right there. Now, keep in mind that's actually in the book. Like the Hightower army doesn't leave for like a year for no reason. Like no reason. The Hightower army just like sits around and takes forever to leave, and so the Beesbury army is able to attack it. But it's the movement of these armies is just no one's really caring. Um, Not that George put that much thought into it. Um, this might have been raised reviewing season 1, but why change which eye Aemond lost? Huh. I never thought about that. So in the books, he lost his right eye, and in the show, he's lost his left eye. I do not know why you changed that, but maybe it's something to do with like what the actor and what was easier for the actor to do. But, huh. I never thought about that, but they changed it for for reasons. Maybe it was just more comfortable. I don't know, something. Maybe the actor, sees better out of one eye. But man, I maybe I'll do some research on that. But real talk, season's almost over. Where are they ending? What's the pacing for the show? It's been weirdly done this whole season. All right, so we've got elements of three major events. Actually, we have elements of that's not a major one. I'm trying to think of like the battle between Hightowers and Beesbury is minor, so that's not. I would say we have elements of three major like stopping points like coming. So Jace talking about the Winter Wolves coming down and meeting Jason Lannister's host um, is Fish Feed, and Fish Feed, is a big battle, very very big battle, and it could be a stopping point for the season. The other one is the Gullet, which is a big sea battle, which is fairly significant because it's the death of Jace and things like this. We've been hearing about the blockade. That could we've been we This episode we had the talk of trying to move the kids um, to Pentos. So it very well could be that. And then there's Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, where we have the elements of like building up the small folk and stuff like that. So, and we have Rhaenyra feeling like she's not doing anything. So, I originally, when I thought about the seasons, really thought that like in a brief House of the Dragon, it would be season 1 as they've done the Rogue Prince, season 2 ending with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, and then season 3 like the rest of the war. They've slowed things down. They're clearly going to have at least 4 seasons. And so once they slowed things down, I was like, okay, we're not going to have Rhaenyra take King's Landing. I guess we'd end things with the Gullet, but there's been no spy reports of the Gullet happening, like no sea battle stuff. So maybe they're going to try to end things with Fish Feed, and then save everything else for season 3. But it does seem a little weird. Like you feel like you need to end on one of those things, right? Fish Feed, the Gullet, or the taking of King's Landing. But We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the gullet has the most impact. Like the most, you end the season on the gullet. It mirrors season one. You lose Luke, you lose Jace, and then season three, Rhaenyra can just go buck wild and be like, "I'm taking King's Landing." Um, Ending things on fish feed. You just, I don't know how like everyone would feel. You'd end with like, "Oh, Harrenhal's been taken by Aemond, and what are we waiting on?" Like, I still think like even though there hasn't been any reports of the gullet happening, it just seems like, what else would you end on? I mean, maybe you could end on everybody like boarding, like getting on the dragons, and then saying, "Aha, we've got this huge dragon army," and you have a final shot of like all these dragons screaming, going "ah, ah," and then you kind of get pumped up for the dragon battles in the future. So maybe they'll try to end it with everybody claiming dragons and everyone screaming and being like, "This is your army," or something like that. I don't know. Hmm. Sea Smoke choosing Adam after losing Laenor, racist as fuck. The I mean, they're definitely going to try to push that, right? That like, oh, he chose him because he somehow sensed his previous master or something in there, and you're like, okay, if dragons do that, then why wasn't Vagar like calling to Rhaena and Bela to like mount, and things like this. You know, half brothers, like, how related are they? I think like what regular brothers share 25% of their DNA. So I imagine half brothers would be half that, 12.5%, like, hmm. Hello, hello. How are you?
Oh,
Let me,
hello. Hi. Can you
hey,
hear me?
let me add you, let me get a window for you here. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's good. It's good. I just finished the episode. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, okay. I thought it was a little. You know how everybody's complaining about last week being slow. I thought that this was the slowest of the episodes, but Carmine was like, yes, it may. I admit it may have been the slowest of the episodes, but it was still pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
how you feeling?
I kept on pausing it because I thought they were kind of revealing things that like we had all thought of,
Yeah,
like the sheep stealer stuff. I was like, yo, the sheep they removed Nettles officially.
I rewinded the Adam of Hull scene, um, because I was like, wait, what just happened? Oh, he just got randomly chosen out of nowhere. Okay, this character that we've had very little introduction to, but okay, that's
We so far we've only seen him like collecting clams. Like
yeah,
that's like the only thing
yeah.
we've seen him
I
do.
mean, that's what it was really
Um,
about. Is that Sea Smoke wanted some good fucking clams, man, and he would have picked anybody that chose clams. And um, were you shocked by the Rhaenyra Missaria kiss? I started laughing.
I started
Um,
laughing too.
yeah, it was just one of those, like, it reminded me of when I went to see Rise of Skywalker in the theaters. The whole theater erupted in laughter when Rey started kissing um, Ben
Oh,
Solo.
Kylo.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Kylo
yeah.
Ren. Like the whole theater was just like, where is this coming from? And just started erupting in laughter, like how ridiculous it was. I kind of had the same reaction here, where I was just laughing, like, what? Where did that come
Yeah.
from? Did you detect any sexual tension, any chemistry beforehand?
I did, like, especially with that scene. Like, I was joking about it with my parents because I watched it with my parents. I was joking about
Mm.
it with my parents, like, are they gonna kiss or something like that? Like every like where she's like, I believe in you and stuff like that. And so like I said it as like a joke because I kind of felt like chemistry, but it was kind of like the chemistry we felt between what's his name, the Stark
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
Jace, where it's like kind of a joke.
yeah. Right. I kind of felt more chemistry between Jace and Cregan Stark, or like in like if you picked a random scene, like let's say the scene, like the last scene between like Damon and Alice Rivers, like had they started kissing, would that have been more expected? Like, do you feel more sexual tension between Alice Rivers and Damon, or than between Massaria and Rhaenyra? Like, I definitely felt more between Jason Cregan, and I definitely felt more between Rhaenyra and Alicent in all of their scenes, than
Yeah.
I did between Rhaenyra and Massaria.
I felt more chemistry between Rhaenyra and Massaria than Damon and what's her name, Alice. I felt more
Oh,
like I felt it. I kind of felt I was like, yeah, and when they did the hug, I was like, oh, that's sweet, that's sweet. Like Rhaenyra, like she needs somebody to not tell her she's doing everything wrong all the time, and she just
mm.
wants like a friend to support her. And then she started like nibbling on her ear or whatever she was doing. I was like, oh, they're going this route. Oh goodness.
Yeah, yeah. Oh. I mean, it's not that it doesn't fit Rhaenyra's personality. Rhaenyra has really bad choices when it comes to relationships. Like that's just always what she's been doing.
Mm,
But Emma Darcy just plays her so much more stoic than than Millie Alcock did,
mm.
But nah. What else? What else is going on? Have
My
any other random thoughts?
well, I was gonna say, like during that scene when the door opened, my mom was like, "Oh my God, it's Damon!" Like Damon shows up,
Oh, like
because
at that
you see him
moment.
leave. Yeah, yeah, and he's like, "Whoa, nice," or something like that. Yeah, I liked. I've been liking what they're doing with Damon.
Mm,
I love the scenes with him and his brother. And the scene where he comforts his brother, I think is like really. I've really enjoyed that scene where
mm.
you see that like where he feels so much guilt for the Air for the Day incident that like he wasn't there
Right,
for him when he needed it.
right. And here he is trying to be there for him in this like hallucination. Yeah, and what he should have done. Yeah. The
Yeah.
Alice Rivers, Tyler Durden, like where is she now? Like here's the thing is like Simon Strong saying that Alice Rivers exists as a person is like now a huge deal because it's like we had no confirmation that she was actually even there. But now she's a person, but was she at River Run the whole time? Or did she
No,
like did she rush to River Run to be one of the healers? You know, when she finally
I think you're overthinking it. I think she actually does exist,
you think that like
and
she does exist, she went to
yeah,
River Run as a physical body, poisoned the guy, like, and then that was it. Versus like she's a
yeah.
barn owl, or she can like get into the werewood and telepathically get Damon because she's somewhere else. Yeah, I'm over. I'm trying to make it more interesting, is what you're saying.
I, um, because I listened to you and Carmine talk about like the
Yeah,
Tyler Durden. What is it?
Tyler
Tyler? I haven't
Durden.
seen
Yeah,
Fight Club. Like the that thing and and you and Carmen brought up that Simon Strong like looks at her or something like
yeah, he does look at her,
that.
but then she disappears behind him. I don't know if you noticed that scene. Is she so Simon Strong is like you know I don't know, these weird props, right? Okay, here's my phone with my boys on it. Anyway, so she here's Simon Strong is my phone. She like walks behind and then like vanishes, right? It's very clear like the actress like ducked down and they wanted to create something spooky. But it's just I mean, it's very clear that happened. Like they want people to be like talking about it, but um yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. But now she exists. But this is nothing. We've just been like theorizing about something that's completely not there. Like, no, she's just there. She's been there the whole time. Everyone looked at her. She exists.
Because you're right that like a lot of the scenes in Harrenhal, especially with her, are weird. How they're shot and how
Mm-hmm.
people act.
Right.
You're right. Like when Damon first shows up in Harrenhal and like nobody acknowledges her in the room, like everybody kneels and she doesn't. It
Yeah.
is weird. You're right. But like,
Right.
yeah, like it makes you
Even
think that like,
even that scene, like the scene where where all the lords show up in the middle of the night and like Damon is just taking shit from rando lords, like I'm like, this must be a dream sequence. And it's like the scenes
hmm.
from next week. I'm like, nope, nope, no, those lords are just fucking like, that just really happened. I guess not. Fuck. That really
Oh,
occurred.
by the way, I guess like Lars the Clubfoot is actually a Clubfoot because he had that like heart to heart
Unless
scene
he's
with
really
Aegon.
fucking good at it. But again,
He's
like,
really deep in it.
I mean, they're not making the cheese Laurie's parallels clearly, like not at all. Like so, it's just not there. So, I mean, in the
No,
show,
I like the idea that he's that deep into it, that
that he's
he's
that
like
deep into it,
crying,
that he's crying and
emotional,
like
and he's like,
being emotional.
"Don't
And in fact,
underestimate you."
he doesn't have a club foot at all. Which I mean. I mean, the fun thing about, I mean, that's the thing is George goes so hardcore. Like when like Varys in the book is so ridiculous in how hardcore he is. The fact that he's like doing 2 full-time jobs, well, more than that, right? He's being Master of Whisperers, which is a full-time job. Then he's like hiding in the walls and spying on everyone. And then he's also being Rugen the jailer, like all at the same fucking time, right? Like that's just a fact, right? Like no human being could could be that active, like nobody. And then we find out, like at the end of A Dance with Dragons, that for the most part, his caricature of Varys is completely fake, and that he has a lower voice, which makes you think that maybe he's not a eunuch at all, and that he made
Hmm.
up that heartfelt story about getting castrated and having his member burned and everything. The one that he told Tyrion, and his hatred of magic, right? That was all bull. And it's like, well, if Varys can go that hardcore, can Larys go that hardcore?
Picturing Laurie's like, I got him. I fucking made him cry at my sap story about having a twisted foot. Oh, you were so right that George does write character I joke that like, oh, he made up this sad sap story and like cried about it and stuff, that George does, because like I think of the main character in or not the villain in Unsound Variations and how like insane that is,
Oh
where
yeah,
like he's like,
absolutely
I've
insane.
been
That
feeling
character
this
is
strange.
so over the top, like obsessed about about being blamed for their loss at a chess tournament, that he invents a fucking time machine and lives several lifetimes in the time machine just to get back at these dudes. Like, come on. Oh man. What do I do if my boy is a snitch? All little boys are snitches. I mean, everybody's like, Daddy, blah blah blah, like took my toy. Like so many boys, everybody's a snitch. But it all, depends how old the kid is, and um, and what you snitch about, and when and why and how. It all depends. I mean, it's very general, about like you shouldn't be a snitch. Well, you should sometimes be a snitch. Just depends, depends how you do it. But, you know, generally speaking, people don't like snitches, and you tend not to snitch about little things. Um, I don't know what's worse. Rhaenyra smuggling food past her own blockade,
Yes. Yes.
or the small folk kind of forgetting that she blockaded them in the first place. It was shaded lamp, man. They lampshaded it. Like Eamon brought this up. He brought up the criticism in the episode of how it doesn't make any sense. And everybody's just like, whatever. The small folk expect it, which, you know, the public can be kind of ridiculous on little things like this, but I don't know. How are you
I thought it
feeling
was a little
about
stupid. I thought that was so stupid. I was like, wait, she's the one doing the blockade, and the whole
Right.
point of the blockade is to starve out the city, and then she defeats her own purpose. And like, it's really kind of
Because in
dumb.
the source material, the source material is also kind of unlikely in that it's the entire Gold Cloaks have been like remembering how great Damon was 25 fucking years ago. And being like, "Oh yeah, we support Damon." He was Lord Commander 25 years ago. Doesn't matter. Like, were you even in the City Watch 25 years ago? Like, how like were you 18 then and now you're 43? Like is that what's going on here?
And what could he have done that was so cool to remember that?
He gave him gold cloaks. He gave him gold cloaks,
Okay.
and he got him some funding during that period of time that he was fucking Lord Commander, which wasn't long, which was not long. Like, who remembers that kind of stuff? Who is like, you know, 25 years ago? Oh my God, I'll never forget 25 years ago. You know.
Who was the president 25 years ago? I guess it was
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. Somebody in the white, like imagine being a well, what is like a good equivalent, like a Secret Service guard or something like that now, and being like, Bill Clinton, I'll do anything for you, or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good
Like, you
comparison.
know, I remember when they gave like here's the thing. So in the government, we do like, as a government employee, like we do have like cost of living increases, and the cost of living increases are like approved sometimes annually, sometimes not, and sometimes like we get them approved like 4 years later, and then you get a bump in pay. So for instance, under Trump, I didn't have any cost of living increases. And then all of a sudden, like when Biden comes in, he's like, I got to make up for lost ground, and like gives you like a 6% increase or something. You know, this kind of stuff happens, right?
Mhm.
And so like that kind of stuff does happen, but I don't know if like I would be thinking about and remembering which years the cost of living increase happened, and you know, if I'd remember 25 years ago and like, or that kind of stuff, and be like,
And you,
and be willing to overthrow the city over it, you know?
yeah, would you be willing to like betray the government for that?
Right. So yes, it's silly. It's silly. The book one was silly. What they're planting here is very silly too. I mean, the whole thing, they shouldn't be fucking starving, okay? They shouldn't be starving in the first place because it's a naval blockade and King's Landing is on the fucking mainland with a river, the Blackwater, that goes right into the fucking, like, into the land. Like, there's a million ways to get food to King's Landing. Roads, the river, well, not a million ways, but, you know, a solid 3 or 4 roads and like a river, okay? And the fishing and
They
whatever.
literally have the reach. They literally have the reach too, because it's
Right.
That's the breadbasket.
Right. In A Clash of Kings, there was the reason that they were starving is that the Tyrells had cut off food, they established that the reach was the breadbasket, and that they'd cut off food, but we don't have that right now. No one's cutting off the food from the reach. So had a bunch of people like in comments, because I about like trying to get me on history and stuff. And they're like, well, you know, in Roman times, Rome used to import grain from Egypt, you know? And you're like, yeah, that was pre-Middle Ages, where there was an agricultural boom, if you remember. Like, and so like, it's a very different situation. Everywhere in Westeros grows food. We know this. And people being like, oh, you can't transport the food over land. Like, yes, you can. And there's the fucking Blackwater River. Like, don't, like what are you talking about? like Xi'an had an enormous population, and it's like 1,000 miles from the sea. They were doing fine. So whatever. Ah, man. But yes.
Oh, by the way, I put this in the comment. I really appreciate that map where you put
Oh, the
squishers at
squishers. Yeah,
Krakow Point.
I knew you'd like it. I
Just
knew
these
you'd like
little details. These little details are what make it awesome. You're like, yes, thank God.
So Valarians without
Uh,
Targaryen blood can ride dragons. Yes. Yes, they can.
yeah,
And this is well, it's not I'm trying to think. It's not 100% canon from the books, because in the books it's ambiguous whether or not Laenor is the father of Alan and Adam of Hull. But I'm trying to remember
yeah.
if
We're
Ulf.
Valerians
Yeah, I'm
show
trying
up.
to
Let's
remember if
see.
Ulf the White is from Driftmark or Dragonstone. That's the thing. No, Ulf the White is from Dragonstone. So, and Hugh the Hammer, is he also from? Trying to think. Blacksmith. Oh, here we go. Hugh the Hammer was no, he's from Dragonstone as well. Damn it.
Oh
So
damn.
the so yeah, we're not sure, but the assumption is that like anyone with Valyrian blood can do it, not just Targaryen blood. That sometimes like, is there any reason that House Velaryon would not have the ability? We can't really think. I mean, obviously, other houses besides House Targaryen, there were other Valyrian houses that rode dragons before the Doom, but yeah, the it's I suppose like we don't have any 100% proof that any non-Targaryens, because it could be that Laenor had Adam and Alan of Hull. But yes, here in the show, Valarians, yes, 100%. Because it's just Corlys, and unless you know his wife was a dragon seed or something. Okay, I lost respect for Joe Biden, a bit of a flake. Um, I guess we can talk about Trey. You ready for the spicy politics? We want to bring up,
Yeah, yeah,
talk
sure.
about.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, I had something earlier. Let's talk about what's going on. So, at least according to AOC and Bernie, um, the Biden is old narrative is mostly manufactured, and that the people trying to get him out were are trying to get Kamala out too, and that it's mainly about his policy. That Biden was proposing a tax on people that he was proposing a ultra millionaire tax, people that had 100 million plus. He wanted to have a tax on them, and that these super rich Silicon Valley types were trying to push him out, and so that's why you see California reps were the ones that were pushing Biden out. Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and such. It's some slimy infighting in the Democratic Party. It's not great, but completely, that they were trying to get Biden out, independent of this bad debate performance. But this was a thing, which makes sense. Like the Biden is old news stories were like over the top, like every fucking day for a month. Like Trump gets there's an attempted assassination on Trump, and like 2 days later it's breaking news, Biden old, and you're like, really? Like we don't have anything more to say about the assassination attempt? Like nothing? Like if this were some other time, we'd have, in the mind of the shooter and all of this kind of stuff going on for weeks. But
He
all of a
was
sudden,
reading
like,
Catcher in the Rye,
yeah, like
something like that. Yeah.
Biden old narrative, is a was just like for a month incessant, like crazy, considering that like Biden made gaffes all the time. He made gaffes when he was young. People make gaffes all the time. Like Trump, during his acceptance speech, went off the rails and started talking about Hannibal Lecter, Did you see
Yeah,
this?
yeah. The late great Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, he's just like
he's
why
dead.
are you talking about Hannibal Lecter? He's just like the late great Hannibal Lecter would have had you for dinner, and you're like, what? Like, what are you fucking talking about? You're accepting a nomination to be president. Like, what? Why are you talking about Hannibal Lecter? And it had nothing to do with anything. Like, you don't have articles of that. So anyway,
Hmm.
they're trying to push Biden out, and it really did come down to um, Biden. He got COVID and was like, okay, I can't really get back in the action this fast in order to defend myself or any of this. This has been going on for a month. He has to step down. But the thing is like he's super pro Kamala. And so he has to get his action in, and everybody else has to get their action in, right? Like, and so right now there's this groundswell because everybody knows, they all know that there's this anti-Kamala too, because Kamala has the same policy as Biden, like that's trying to push her aside too. So right now, like immediately everybody's like Black Caucus, pff, Kamala, Asian Hispanic Caucus, pff, Kamala, like everyone's going Gavin Newsom, Kamala. And people are just getting in line. Boom, 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 boom. Kamala. Like, and it's notable like who hasn't come forward and been like Kamala. The people that were trying to push Biden out in the first place are the ones that are like that are not supporting Kamala right now. Anyway, we're all in for Kamala now, and she's going to have a hard road because the country is sexist and racist, and they're going to come up with whatever. But hopefully, because she's like young and a great speaker, we can start hitting Trump for being old and crazy, and hopefully, but
because
it's going to be a
that's
hard
like.
road.
It's something that like my parents would bring up all the time. Like every time I saw them, they would bring up like Biden. He's so old. I saw this clip of him and he was looking at a blonde woman in the crowd and thought it was his wife. And he's so old. He's like he's got dementia and stuff like that. And it's now they can't do that. That was like their one criticism. And then it's nice that they can no longer do that. They'll find something else, but they can no longer do that because like it was the one thing.
And they will find
Everybody was
something else.
collecting that.
They'll make something
Yeah.
up. Like no doubt they're going to make something up. But it's just 100% in for Kamala right now, and just no wavering. Like, and it's like it's not like I'm not gonna remember this. Like these motherfuckers that pushed Biden out for no fucking I wouldn't say no reason, but not enough of a reason. But Kamala is on the exact same policy line. And, just last week, like Biden was going to put forward this reforming the Supreme Court policy idea that was like fucking genius. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have such feelings of like, oh my God, the whole system's broken. And when I heard that, like, no, they have this whole like reforming the Supreme Court policy like package that I read, I was like, holy shit, like Joe Biden fucking rocks. Like this, like he really does rock. And he was a great president, and he is a great president. And, I didn't want him to step aside, but fine. We got Kamala. Kamala's just as good. She's on board, and let's get this shit done. Plus it has to be Kamala because all the money is in her name too, and it annoys me also that like there was a democratic process to choose Biden and Kamala. Like we had primaries, and the fact that like some like rich donor class is going to be like, no, we can push him out and then try to put it in like some other like, friendly to our taxes, like guy, like we can sneak this in at the last minute. Like, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. Mouth. But yeah, that's what I'm all for it. But all for Kamala now. That's all we can do.
Do you think this is do you think it's like a neutral decision? Like, does it really change how the election would turn out?
I think it's a somewhat in my opinion, it's somewhat weaker position, But at the same
Hmm.
time, like the media, which is now owned by mostly right wing interests now, um, is would just keep hammering Biden on this. I mean, and when they find something on Kamala, they're going to hammer her too. Like
Hmm.
there's going to be another like whatever, but her emails, Joe Biden is old kind of thing. Like no doubt. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it'll make no difference at all. But it's obviously it's worrisome. Um,
Yeah.
because but I thought Joe Biden was a stronger candidate, but uh, you know we got Kamala now, and we this is the one we got. This is the one we got.
You're so right, like about like the scandals of like a Biden or Hillary versus the scandals of like Trump. It's just like so night and day, but people move on
Oh
from,
yeah,
because you don't really hear like the Trump scandals, at least not from, I don't know, the broader media. They kind of fade into the background as opposed to like Biden old.
right. Well, I mean, this is
Uh,
this is a very clear, deliberate thing. I mean, print media um, is dying. Everyone knows print media is dying. Like the numbers are abysmal for them. And I mean, are you subscribed to any traditional media?
oh no, not a
Right?
single one.
I'm not. I get a free subscription to the Washington Post because of my job, but and so but other than that, like, why would I? Like, why? Like sometimes I'll go to certain websites and then I put on incognito and I read it. Like, and I'm pretty old, right? Like, no one. Like, why would anyone be reading this stuff? The only people that read it are old people, and old people tend to be more conservative. So these dying industries are like, well, maybe if we go full conservative, we can we can survive for a while. Which is what happened. Like, why would they have anything neutral or liberal? Like, when those aren't the readers, the only ones left are conservative. So I think that's why, like, young people don't use traditional media. They don't use print media. Like, my wife has a subscription to the New York Times for the crossword, or she has just the crossword thing. Yeah, so she can do that. But
Because for me, it's like, why would I pay for my news? Like that's how
right.
I feel about it. I was like, what?
Also,
For
why would
somebody
I
to
pay
write
for my
about the
news when
news,
it's all conservative crap? Like now,
right?
or like
When it's skewed, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like, why breaking news, Joe Biden old for a fucking month. Like, why would I pay for that? That's horrible. So but so
I am.
anyway.
I'm reading the comments. Is Trey even old enough to have held a newspaper? Yes, yes. I'm not that young.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I've never. I okay. That they have a point. I don't think I've ever like gotten a paper and been like, yes, I'm reading a paper. Yes, yes. I think I
Oh,
did it
really?
once with a George R. R. Martin article in like, I don't know, some New York Times or something like that, where I think my dad read it and then saved it for me, and I think I still have that newspaper saved because he had like a quote about history or something in it that I actually
Mm.
liked.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, I have read a newspaper technically. Yes.
No, I used to read physical newspapers. Yeah. I mean, you go through them. I mean, especially, what about your kid with the funnies? You didn't pull the funnies out?
They would pull the comics. Yeah, I would get like BC or whatever the
Open the
BC.
sports section. Um, yeah, but I mean, but there was definitely an era where I remember, like, in my 20s, like, my roommate would like sit there and like be sitting there with a cup of coffee and the newspaper, like an old man, like with I mean, he didn't have a pipe, but it was like that kind of like, my house,
See, I
like,
don't
we
think
had.
I've ever done that.
I mean, there was a time where, like, we were getting my parents were getting the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and then like the Baltimore Sun. And it was just like stacks of newspaper. And my mother would be like, "Oh, I got to get through all these newspapers." It was like a chore. Like, got to get through these newspapers. Mm, mm.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me that somebody would like, and you get one every day.
Mhm.
I say this like I don't know. Yeah, and you would read it. You spend time reading it.
Yeah, I mean, the The Baltimore Sun would come every day. I think they were getting the Wall Street. No, the Wall Street Journal was coming every day. New York Times was. I think they were getting a weekly. They were getting a weekly New York Times or something. But yeah, no, it would every day, every day. People would
That's
read the newspaper
crazy.
every day, man. But keep in mind, the news was only on for 30 minutes a day. You'd watch the nightly news, and that was it.
Oh, dang. Yeah. And then now it's just everywhere. You can turn on the
Yeah,
TV. You can have
yeah.
Twitter, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I learned
Yeah.
Trump
By the
got
way, I'm
shot
getting off
was through
Twitter soon. I'm end of the season. I'm done with Twitter. Like that's just it. That's just the end. But yeah, I can't deal with Elon anymore. Like it's just done. Like I understand that like you got your huge Twitter following, but like try to transfer that to Threads or something. I'm just done with Twitter. I just can't morally do it anymore. Like the guy is such a piece of shit that I just cannot do it anymore. But it's easier for
Oh
me because I
gosh.
don't have that many followers on Twitter. You have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
I've built my house and it stinks. I built my house and then like a new. It's like I'm like a peasant, and the dynasty was overthrown, and I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to leave somewhere. Yeah, because it does suck. That some
It
rich
does
guy
suck.
just bought it. He
Right.
just bought it and ruined it.
It
Like
ruined
it's
it.
and you have no choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
know.
dang, that sucks.
With the pacing of the season, how many seasons can we realistically have to tell this story? I think there will definitely be 4 seasons, but I think they could slow it down to try to get 5 or 6 out of it at this point, right?
Yeah, we haven't had Daron show up, so we got like a whole like
I can't believe,
possibly
yeah,
main character.
they're really quite established. Like Daron is a character now in the show. Oh, really? Like, yes, I understand that you were all worried that he didn't exist before, but Daron is a character.
And
Maylor,
he's
no.
awesome.
Yes, and
They're
he's
like he's gonna
awesome.
fix everything.
And
Uh, wh-
he's been riding a dragon. Yeah, yeah.
didn't show up to his dad's funeral or
Didn't show up.
anything like that.
Didn't show up to his dad's funeral. Did not show up to anything. Anybody like yes, no. They didn't go to Lena's funeral. Didn't go to Lenor's funeral if Lenor had one. I don't. Didn't show to, anybody. Not his dad. Yes, no. But to be fair, like I
Oh,
said, George R. Martin even made mistakes with Daron. But
where is Otto, by the way? They really sent up this missing Otto. It's like the
yeah.
Feast for Crows like Kevin Lannister storyline that was like dropped. Remember this? Like in the drafts.
Oh yeah. Where's Kevin?
Where's Kevin?
Where's Kevin? Oh, he's been there the whole time. But you're right. What Trey is talking about is that in A Feast for Crows originally there was a missing Kevin Lannister plot line, and if you read Feast, there's still like people constantly asking like where's Kevin, but Kevin is nowhere. He's just at Casterly Rock
He's
and then
just chilling.
come to like King's Landing, and like there's nothing there. Like, but the dialogue is still there. Like, have you heard from Kevin? Like,
Because
like I think
he was supposed to be the one that was captured by the Brotherhood Without Banners, right? Like,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, he was going to be kidnapped by the
okay,
Brotherhood Without Banners, on his way back to Casterly Rock, and then he just wasn't. But everybody's still asking still asking about him. Yeah. Shouldn't King's Landing or at least the Citadel have survey plans of every castle and keep to know how to attack if they rebelled? I would think the Citadel would have that information, like should have that information, but keep in mind that like paper rots, and you have to have a good maester. But like, yeah, something where like at some point the maester sketches something out and then sends it back, and the Citadel would collect it. It would make sense,
yeah.
And a good military strategist would have it. Would have it in King's Landing too, but
I guess some of the castles are so old that they might not even know like the plans anymore. Because it's how long has it? Like for some of it's been like 6,000 years or something. Like that's a lot of time to forget a building's
yeah,
plan. Build like what? Yeah, I guess, but that's a lot of time
right,
to
and
find stuff.
additions and stuff like this. But you're right that like, I mean, a smart person would like know this, but I suppose do people doesn't everybody seem to know about each other's plans? At least in the books, they seem to all know about it. Like River Run,
Yeah,
they're like, well,
yeah.
the only way to take River Run is to attack it at 3 points simultaneously. Like, I think
Like
like
Cat knew the plan of like Storm's End. Like she knew it to like a T when she was like describing it. She's like, yes, inside of 3 round towers or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So, um, I mean, is there? I'm just trying to think if there's any moment where somebody's kind of ignorant to it. Um, you know, I mean, other than like the Dreadfort's like secret postern gate. Um,
Mm.
I'm trying to think of like another example where there's like a secret that people aren't gonna that people could exploit, or like not knowing the castle like hurts somebody.
I'm thinking too.
I mean, besides the Dreadfort and the postern gate, I can't think of any.
I think some of Dorne, maybe there's some of Dorne where like when during the conquest of Dorne, they were like they didn't know about like how deep the castles went or something like that. I think there's something said about that where all the small folk disappear or stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, who's the richest, most powerful Westeros non-noble? The only rich people that we've heard of so far in Westeros are some Gulltown merchants. I can't think of anybody else that they've really like who's really stuck out as being super rich. That doesn't have like land, except for some Gulltown merchants.
Like
Um,
how Spicer was, and now they're
yeah,
nobles now.
now they're
Yeah.
nobles, right? So they seem to be the
Um,
only people would be like random traders, and the only ones we hear about is Gulltown. Um,
you're right. That all the wealth is really just in nobility. There's like
one
I guess there's the oh yeah, you go.
oh no, please, because mine's a little bit of a tangent.
Well, because I was thinking like, okay, I'm thinking about like when Brienne was going to, she was like traveling to Duskendale or whatever, and she encounters like that merchant with like the big retinue of like guys with Sir Shadrick. Like he had like the
Hmm.
hedge knights that he hired. Like I guess like
Yeah,
that's like a private person that's wealthy enough to afford that kind of thing. But yeah, it's
yeah.
rare. It's like only merchants.
What's kind of odd about and I always say this about Westeros is all the cities are big in all the wrong places. Like for some reason salt pans should be like massively wealthy, or like the Shield Islands should be the richest place in Westeros, but instead like it's Old Town. And you're like, why would that river, which is so much smaller and shorter, like the Shield Islands and Salt Pans should be like fucking booming metropolises, but instead it's like no, everyone in King's Landing. And you're like, well, why King's Landing? Yes, King's Landing is on the Blackwater Rush, but where does the Blackwater Rush lead to? Fucking nowhere. Like there's no like major houses on it that like it goes into the Isle of Faces Lake, but you're like, what houses are on that? Like like nothing. Like you're not doing it. Like where's the trade? Like it's all on the Mander and on the Trident, which should be for through Salt Pans and the Shield Islands. And so like when you say like when we mention these like rich merchants out of Gulltown, you're like, what fucking business are they doing in Gulltown? Like
I feel like the whole eastern side of Westeros should be more populated and more wealthy because it's closer to the free cities and stuff.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, White Harbor, I suppose, makes sense, but that's about it. Like that's the only
Like
one. But
why is anybody going to Lannisport? Like there's like it's on the opposite side of the continent, and the only thing that's over there is like the Iron Islands and
I guess the idea is
um
gold. But you're right that like, why would anyone go there? It's like I can go and trade and get some gold, but I'm probably gonna get raided by fucking Ironborn. Like
then you got to go all the way around like Dorne and stuff. Like
right, where there's
um
no place to stop. Like it's such a pain because you just be like, okay, I'm here in the Stepstones. Say you're a trader from Lice, and you're like, well, I have to go through the Stepstones, which are filled with pirates, and then I've got to fucking go past Dorne, where there's no place to stop for thousands of fucking miles. And then it's like, okay, I can stop then at like Starfall, but nobody, apparently everybody's just like, nah, at this point, just fucking gun it for Old Town. Like,
now I'm pulling up a map of Westeros. Now I need to see a Westeros map to see these things not make sense. Because you're right, and it's like it's totally just a product of it needing to It needs to fit into pages, so it's all boxy and
yeah, it's all
like a super
boxy. Yeah.
inconvenient continent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you think of that scene with not Asha, Yara, where she has to go all the way around Westeros, and it's like because there really should be a canal. There should be a canal
Right.
in
They should have built
in
a
the neck or
canal in the neck a
something.
long time ago, right? Like, or people should be portaging or something. Like there should be a major
Yeah,
portaging like process
like
to
I'm
try to
thinking
like
about
lift people over.
like in Corinth, like in ancient Greece, there was like they didn't have an isthmus, but they had the Doukalos or something like that. It was like a road. It was like an extremely well paved road, just to because it constantly got stuff over because
Yeah.
going around Greece is super inconvenient. Like that should happen somewhere in Westeros, like the Neck or something like that. There should be like a porter system or something because that's what
Absolutely.
they had in the and then like the Panama, like the Isthmus of Panama. That's what they had then during like the colonial era. Yeah, yeah. George, you didn't think this through.
George, not thinking about this. Man, oh man. Um. Oh, will Laenor take part in Viserys Essos subplot? I don't think so. I think they're just gonna have Laenor be gone forever. I think they're
He's
just like,
dead.
yeah, no, I think they're just having Laenor best life. Like, that's it. You know, like there apparently was this like the apparently everybody doesn't want to have the bury your gays like trope where it's like you have like a gay character and you kill him off and and make him this like martyr, and this is apparently like a trope, and so Lenor he dies in the book, and so they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna have him live for no reason at all, like just so we're not in that trope, um in the most improbable weird like kind of like thing like
Oh,
Lena.
speaking of that improbable weird, like because I was curious. I asked my parents today because you brought this up where they get a guy and kill him, right? They get this random servant that apparently is the same height as Laenor in like skin tone and everything, and they burn his face, right? He's like burned his face beyond recognition. And I asked them like, Mom and Dad, if that were to happen with me, would you be able to identify that body as mine or not? Like, and they kind of were like, no, we would assume that. But I was like, no, but I have like scars and stuff on my body. Like, wouldn't you? I don't know. You raised me, right? Wouldn't you remember like where freckles were, something like that? Like,
Right,
you don't
just
need the face.
the shape and height and all these sorts of things. Like it was a remarkable coincidence that the guy that they chose, I mean, maybe they chose, they're like, okay, who, they went through detail and they're like, who has the most similar Laenor body type? This guard, let's kill that guy and do a body swap. So weird. So many things could have gone wrong.
It's weird that they didn't just even suspect. Like, you'd think they would at least have some type of like, I don't know, the height. Like, they would be looking at the body and they're like, that doesn't look like Laenor's hands or something. Like, wouldn't you as a parent,
Right, there'd
like,
be something,
I don't know, you'd want to believe that's not your kid, right? Like,
I mean, there's just something weird, So when I was about 11 or 12, I moved, and 20 years later, I was back in my old neighborhood, and I was walking down the street, and there I saw like my childhood friend who I had not seen in 20 years, and he was mowing the lawn, and he looks up, and instantly he's just like, Preston, what are you doing? And it was like, now granted, like, yeah, I mean, me at 12 looks like, me at 23. It's, but there's still like the fact that it was so instantaneous, that recognition, like there's just something to it. Right. I almost feel like with kids and parents, there'd be like something where you just be like, that just doesn't look right, you know, like some element
Yeah.
of recognition from so many years of like, and of being with somebody. But I don't know. I thought only Dragonlord descendants could ride dragons, not any Valyrian or Celtigar can't. Well, we're not sure. So the idea is that some houses had dragons, some houses didn't. Maybe the houses that had dragons became rich because they had special genes to get them which allowed them dragons, and maybe House Velaryon and House Celtigar didn't have those genes. It's hard to say. We don't know. We don't know if it's like any Valyrian might be able to do it. If the gene is widespread or what. We just don't have that information. Also, one could say that, okay, House Targaryen's been intermarrying with House Velaryon for generations, so House Velaryon would have those genes anyway. Even if they weren't a Dragonlord house, they are a Dragonlord house now due to the intermarrying. Celtigar, we don't know about their marriages. We don't know if some Celtigars like married with Targaryens. They probably did, but it's weird that it's not mentioned. But yeah, I mean, we don't have full information, but generally people kind of think, a Valyrian would have better chance. And the Velaryons and the Celtigars were intermarried. Well, I'm assuming that they're going to be intermarrying with the Targaryens just because they're Valyrian houses. So they should at least get a chance on that too. And again, in the book, we've got Adam and Alan of Hall. If they are, we don't know if they're Laenor's or Corlys's bastards, so it's tough to say if they're Targaryen. But even Corlys would have Targaryen ancestors anyway from the intermarriages. But certainly Velaryon, probably Celtigar would have Targaryen blood anyway through marriages, rather, even if it's not from the Valyrianness. But yeah. I don't blame Barristan for the boar. Robert was drunk and big. He didn't want help nor need it. It was a good move by Cersei playing Robert's pride. But it was so random. I think this is one of the silliest things as well. Like here's the equivalent. Like, say you get your friend, let's say you get somebody super drunk and then you have them drive home drunk. Okay? What's the probability that they're actually going to crash their car? It's probably actually a minority. Like, it's probably actually low, right? The fact that this boar would kill him, that they go on a boar hunt, and that he would find the boar, and that the boar would kill him,
Cersei's plan, if they didn't find a boar, it just comes back with, we didn't find anything. We
didn't find him.
We
went around, couldn't find him. It was a somebody else killed him first, before the king, or it didn't charge him, it just didn't want to. It hid, and then they found it hiding under a log and they stabbed it. There's so many things that could have been, or even though Robert was super drunk, he still stabbed the boar. Which is the probable thing, right? If these things about drunk drivers who end up getting in a drunk driving accident and dying, they drunk drive all the time. And so one of the times they most of the time they're driving home drunk and nothing happens. That's the thing. So it's a really silly idea that it actually worked. I mean, we love you, George. We do. We love you. But come on, that's silly. Murdered by getting him too drunk before a boar hunt? That, there's no way that would work. I'm sorry. It's so poorly thought out. My drunkard is Masari have a new accent. She gets a new accent every fucking episode. It is so, it's just every episode she has a goddamn new accent.
Because I remember first season she had like a wee French accent, and now she's
Yeah.
like faux British sometimes, and then like
Yeah. Yeah.
almost like a East Asian accent. I don't
Someone
know.
should do a language comparison of like episode to episode. She's like female Damon. She is. She's just like all over the place, you know? She just don't know her personality one episode to the next. It feels like Game of Thrones season 7 to 8 build up to a big battle, then fill time to get to the next battle, but still enjoyed the 6 episodes. It does kind of, a lot does
Yeah.
seem like filler. I mean, as much as I do enjoy a lot of the scenes with, say, Allison, I think Allison is doing a fantastic job. I'm just wondering, like, and where is this going? Like, what's the point of Allison feeling really sad about um, Aegon and feeling really sad about Aemond, and like, where is that leading? Like, how is this going to change her choices and affect the plot?
Mm.
Because Allison doesn't do anything going forward.
Maybe they'll give her some. You're so right that like yeah, like where is that going? Because that's a lot of screen time, and she's doing a great job acting. Like maybe it's just for the actor to act. Like it's like we're gonna give you something that you couldn't get an Emmy for, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That scene with her brother. Her brother's dead. Okay, like that scene with Gwaine. Like I was like, oh, Gwaine's dead. He's not. He's
Yeah,
not
it seems
surviving
like they're
the
killing
night.
him in a different place. Because in the source
Yeah.
material, he's a member of the City Watch and gets killed during the taking of King's Landing, which I think might actually be better because it would place the blame more on Rhaenyra.
Mm.
But by having him march with Kristen Cole, you're right that it was very much like a farewell scene. Like, let's have a scene that kind of shows the love between brother and sister as we march Gawain off. You're like,
The music swelled a little bit. I was like, oh.
right.
Is he the one that has been raising Daron? Because they're like he kind of like was acting like he was
it's
his
their
father.
uncle.
Okay.
So I
Oh,
think,
it's actually
yeah. So Lord Hightower is Otto's brother, and then actually that Lord Hightower dies. So I imagine it. I mean, I don't know if he's dead in the show, but it would be then their cousin. So their cousin would be raising Daron as the Lord. But yeah, he's warded by the Lord.
Mm.
Too lazy to look up family tree. Does the Hulls being Corlys's kid make sense with the Dragon X gene? Like the mom now has to be the gene carrier? No, like it doesn't. It doesn't make sense either way. Whether it's Laenor or whether it's Corlys, it wouldn't make sense with the Dragon X theory. But the idea is that it doesn't matter because everyone on these fucking islands is like filled with the Dragon X gene because of Lord's Knight to the First Right. That would be from the mother. Would be the idea that everybody's just the Dragon X gene's just floating around like crazy because of 400 years of Targaryens sleeping with whoever they like, you know. On the
I
island.
hope there's some kind of explanation of dragon riding and hatching. Like I really want there to be, but I don't know if George put that much thought into it because that can get really complicated.
Yeah. Plus, like if the hulls are on, I mean, you'd have to have it on both islands, but also the Valarians have been on Driftmark longer than 400 years. So I mean, at this point, it's only 100 and the Targaryens came to Driftmark 100 before conquest, but the Valarians were on longer, so we don't know how long. The Valarians might have been there 1,000 years. We don't know. We have no idea. But so it could be that everybody on Driftmark has the genes, but Dragonstone is harder situation. And maybe that's the other thing is we don't know how many people are on Dragonstone, so it could be like there's only like 100 people on Dragonstone, and so when Lord's Right to the First Night comes, they're just like, man, there's like 5 daughters, and they're just getting they're just getting banged by every Targaryen. Because there's just not that many, like there's just not that many young daughters to be. um, funny how the small folk always talk exclusively about how poor they are, like in a Willy Wonka movie. It's just one
I
of those
need me
things.
food.
Yeah, I need food. I mean, I guess I mean, I suppose having them have a random scene where they're like, "Did you see the pit fight yesterday?" You know, or like, "Oh man, you know, I heard my cousin hooked up with your cousin." You know, like typical like gossip isn't in there, but I guess it's the only thing relevant that they have to talk about. You know. Um, This is the first time I saw. By the way, with the riots, like, was it the first time we saw Helena like praying with her mom?
Yeah. We haven't seen Helena for like feels like a couple episodes. Like I
See,
feel like we've
this
seen her,
now
but
also screws up like the Rhaenyra scene because you know how they're like, okay, we figured out when Alicent's going to be at the Sept. What if
yeah.
Helena was there? Like that would have fucked everything up. Now that I know that like Alicent occasionally prays with her daughter, fuck.
Yeah, I would have thought Alicent would stop praying in the Sept after that incident because she knows that Rhaenyra knows that she goes there, right? She'd be like, "That's a
Right.
risk
It's
on
like
my
super
person."
dangerous now. It's like now I can be. I
Yeah,
mean, that's the funny thing, right? Is that like it's it's super dangerous at the Sept, and then she goes, and then there happens to be a fucking riot. You just stop going to this fucking Sept. Every time I go to the goddamn Sept, something happens, man. You gotta like just use the one in the Red Keep. Like
hey, did
that's
you
why.
notice that they killed off poor Damon's groupies?
Wait, which groupies? Oh,
One,
his
not Damon,
Aegon's
buddy,
Aegon's
frat
groupies. At
bros.
least they killed one of them. Did they kill all of
Yeah,
them?
yeah. I think they killed at least. I don't know. Maybe they killed more of them, but I think it was only like I saw one get his head. He got what's his name?
It was a little silly
Celtic.
because they were like, "Oh, he doesn't know how to fight," and it's like, first of all these highborn motherfuckers know how to fight. Okay, they
Yeah.
have nothing else to do with their time. It's idle rich, right? Like they're all good with the sword, at least compared to a small folk, right? Like small folk
Yeah.
has no military training at all. This guy like has been trained. Like they're knights, you know. They should be at least slicing through people. I mean, it's
Mm.
fine if they get killed, but like have it be like 20 guys take them down like all at
Yeah.
once, not like I'm so clumsy with the sword, I should have never been elevated to Kingsguard. Like, dude, these are highborn motherfuckers. Like they know how to fucking like swing a sword, you know. I mean, like imagine the equivalent. Imagine like it's like you're on a farm in like Kansas, and some guy's like, I don't know how to use a shotgun. Like how ridiculous that scene would be. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like Billy Bob's son doesn't know how to use a shotgun? Like it's one, it's not that hard. But two, like you're like a farmer in Kansas, you know? Like, come on. Come on. Of course you know how to use a shotgun. Like, I'm so clumsy with this sword. Oh no. Small folk. Like, come on. Super nerd, super nerd theory. What do you think of the sky cells at the Erie historically being used as a rookery hangar for giant falcons that Vale Knights flew on during the Age of Heroes? It's a pretty cool theory, actually.
I'll do you one better. I
Yeah.
think it's where the Cavalars held their banshees. I think the
Oh
banshees.
right, yeah. No. You're right. Yeah. I mean, definitely like some sort of. I mean, some sort of like. I mean, nonetheless. I mean, it's kind of the same. We're kind of talking about the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
I like that theory. I like
it's
this theory.
you know, whatever they're telepathic like layers of where you'd have like the nests, right? I mean, those sky
Hmm.
cells, by the way, should be filled with like random bird nests, right?
Hmm.
Like it's a perfect place. Like why wouldn't they make their nests
Unless
there.
they clean them all like
You think
constantly.
Mord is doing that much work?
Mord. Well, you're right. Mord is not cleaning those sky cells. Like you know, just Mord's name off the top of your head. Like, yeah.
Love Mord. Mord's got to come. Mord's got to make more and more appearances. I think I gave Mord a shout out in the fanfic that he was there. But I mean, I still just regret that I missed putting in Willis Woad. The forgotten character that like followed cattle into the Vale and then vanished. It's like he should be should be sitting there. Should be sitting in the Vale the whole time. Preston, put on headphones. I got echo.
Yeah, they've been complaining about that.
Oh man, but the headphones are so hot. They're so hot. They're so hot. This is why I'm hot. I don't know why it's been echoing that much. I have echo cancellation on, but you know. Here, look at this. Look fine, like you motherfuckers. This is what I do for you motherfuckers. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot.
Oh, you got like the old-fashioned headphones. You got the like Beatles recording studio headphones.
That's right. We're ready. My name's Brian Epstein, and we are about to record some hits. We got to record some hits, and you know, here with the quarrymen, and we're ready to go. Fine, motherfuckers. What's funny is they'll probably just be like, "No, we still got echo going on." Why does only one brother have white hair? Did you notice that scene where he's like shaving his head?
Yeah. My parents were my dad was asking about that. And my dad's like, he's not. Look, Trey, you're wrong. He's like, you're wrong. He's not Corliss's son. It was like that. It's not going to make any sense later if he's not.
The whole. Son. I mean, this is the whole like Varys is a Targaryen theory coming in, right? Because he's got the white hair that he has to shave. Yeah, or egg. Rhaena claiming sheep stealer is red herring. Maybe. I really wish, but sorry. Like they are definitely having Rhaena claim sheep stealer.
Right. Like why introduce it? Why introduce it in the Rhaena's plotline if she's not going to get involved? And they're making such a big deal of her not having a dragon.
Yeah, you make this big deal out of her being like, I'm so useless. And then you have this like big deal with like sheep stealer. And you know, of course they're doing it. But it's just gonna suck. It's just gonna suck because Rhaena is not fucking Nettles. Okay. All right. Nettles is like, you know, this level of awesome. Rhaena, like not even doesn't move the needle. No one cares about Rhaena. Everyone cares about
Did they
Nettles.
get rid of the other wild dragons too? Because they mentioned them last season. Like Daemon mentions them last season.
Yeah, he goes through them.
He goes through wild dragons, but they're not mentioned now.
Well, I mean,
besides this one in the Vale,
the fact that like Daemon like told the entire small council that they had all of these wild dragons that needed riders, and then everyone completely forgot about it until Jace brings it up like 5 episodes later, and it's a mad thought. Mad thought. You mean the thing that Daemon said like to everybody that we should have been like working on? But yeah, no, like will they just eliminate Cannibal and Grey Ghost and from existence?
It would save a lot on money. Like it would save the animation budget to have these dragons that don't do anything. Cannibal's so cool though. Like that's a cool dragon to cut.
I'm trying to think. We've been introduced to Hugh the Hammer, and we've been introduced to Ulf the White. So I mean, that's Vermithor and Silverwing?
Yeah.
And then yeah, because Hugh gets Vermithor and Ulf. So I guess, and then we got Sheep Stealer. Who gets this? Does no one ever claims Grey Ghost? Is that the idea?
Grey Ghost gets killed. Yeah, Grey Ghost gets killed by spoilers. He gets killed by Aegon, like hiding when he's in
Right.
hiding, and they
Yeah.
blame it on the cannibal.
Yeah,
It's the only purpose Grego served.
they're gonna save some money. There's nothing there. That's
Think about the Funko Pops, though. They could sell a
oh my
little.
god, so many. Yeah. Can't wait for my Daron Funko Pop. He's gonna look so different from my Aegon Funko Pop. I guess. Um. How do you think Danny's crew will react to Westeros? Will they even make it there? Trying to imagine Dario and Belwas in the same room as Sweet Robin or Aaron. I mean, there's some really fun stuff and fun ideas with that. I mean, I don't know if Dario's going to make it all the way. Dario would be the one that you think is either going to get killed off or written out because you gotta have Danny be single, right? For whatever she's planning. Um, and so, yeah, now Belwas would be more fun and more interesting. So I hope Belwas like sticks around. However, come on, we're never getting that. We're never getting to that point. Like
It it makes that question makes me like disappointed about the show, where the show really didn't do that much. Where Danny
mhm,
didn't have too many people from the Essos plot travel with her to Westeros. Like it's
right.
clearly Grey Worm and
And
Missandei, and they
Missandei,
don't
and
do
they
that
spent
much.
they spent the entire time talking to each other,
Yeah,
right?
because that's such a cool culture clash. Like I'm thinking
Hmm.
about how that would be like in the book, where you have like this Giscari character meeting
Yeah,
like a Faith the Seven person. Like what conversations would they have? Like,
yeah,
or the weather? They
absolutely.
talk about the weather
Yeah,
or
and
something like that.
it makes me, but it's also one of these questions that it's just like, well, look, if even in the small chance that Winds of Winter comes out, Danny is only going to get back to Westeros at the end of that book. Like, there's no way that we're having Belwas. Like, there's no Dream of Spring, so like Belwas will never interact with anyone in now. Maybe one day in the fanfics, but like, you
Meet
know,
Resnek Mo Resnek.
but
Meets
this is one of the fun things I had like in the Quentin chapter. And the Quentin chapter I felt came out pretty good, but like in that Quentin chapter that we wrote, like what's fun is that we have all of those extra characters that you forgot about in Marine that no one's been talking about. Like everybody does their like, oh, what's going to happen at the Battle of Fire, and everyone's thinking. Very few people think about well, what's going on in the city with like the three Giscari knights that Jorah mentions, and Missandei, and Belwas, and Hisdar, and Skahaz. Like, what's going on with them? And like wanted to address all of that. And so that's one of the fun things about that chapter is Belwas and Missandei and the Giscari like showing up and like interacting with Quentin, you know. So um, that's the strength of the story at this point is fun characters from different plot lines like interacting at different ways.
yeah.
It's it's what they wanted to do in Beyond the Wall. Do you remember, do you remember Beyond the Wall? You had all these characters that would normally not interact
Yeah.
walking together and it was supposed to be super interesting. And it just wasn't that, like they couldn't really come up with anything very interesting for him to say. Like the
I'm like
Hound
thinking,
makes fun of Gendry,
yeah.
and
They make fun of Gendry for being like sexually assaulted by the
yeah,
red woman. They're like, you
right,
didn't like it? What's your problem?
right.
Yeah, like what a waste of a conversation. Because you think of in the books, like that's like George's strong suit, like how Stannis going to the wall, like how freaking crazy that
Right.
is to
And
have
how
like Stannis and John conversations.
everything changed when you had that like new character like turning everything on its head. I really
Yeah.
when the show came out, I was really looking forward to like it was one of the last things I was looking forward to. I was like, wow, Theon and Yara are gonna show up in Slayer's Bay. It's gonna
Mm.
be so awesome to see them interact with all these different characters. And then they just kind of had that one throne room scene, and then it was like done. I'm like, but I wanted to like see them walking the streets of Marine, like interacting with the characters, and no, they never did. They had one scene with
Dude,
Danny.
does Theon and Grey Worm ever have any conversation together? Because that would have been
No,
good.
yeah, it's true. They would
These
have
two,
talked
these
about
two, these two eunuch
Right.
characters. Like,
Like, or him, Varys, and Grey Worm could all like talk about it.
yeah, they
I
have
don't
like
think
a bar scene.
I don't think
They like hang
Varys
out at a
talked
bar
to.
together.
Did Varys even talk to
Damn,
Grey Worm? Like,
that sucks,
I know, I
man.
know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the closest they had to something interesting was Jorah talking to Jon about Longclaw, and you're like, "Here's your sword back," and he's like, "You keep it." And you're like, Would he do that? Like, would he really do that?
She fucking stole it. She's like, yeah, give me that. Yeah, thanks.
I'm just, I'm just saying, like, okay, um, let's put it. Are all your grandparents still alive, Trey?
Only one is alive.
Okay, so I want to take like your one of your late grandfather, okay, and say like some guy shows up at your house and he's like, Trey, my name is like John Smith, and I was really good friends with your late grandfather, and he gave me this watch. We pull the Pulp Fiction thing. He gave me this watch. And this watch has been in your family for 400 years. And, I was really good friends with him. And, I saved his life once and he gave me this watch. But, like, it's been in your family 400 years. Like, here's your grandfather's watch. Would you just, like, hand it back to him and be like, you keep it?
No.
No, you take it, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess he wanted this. And then also it's my family.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you keep it. Oh, random fucking discussion.
I think, and even in the books, I think it's weird that he gives it to John in general. Like
it's so
like
stupid.
It's so stupid. Like wouldn't the people of Bear Isle like be upset with him? Like be like, well, you just gave away the fucking family sword that's been here for 20 generations.
The priceless fucking family sword that you could like
Some
buy
15-year-old.
You could buy a keep with because like his direwolf is the one that fucking did. Like, give the direwolf something. Like, don't give it to. This is like Chewie not getting his medal. Like, what are you like? Why are you giving it to John?
Oh my gosh, see, that's one of those things I don't think about that much, and it really does kind of ruin it. Where it's like, yeah, what the? Because you're right, they could sell that to House Lannister for bajillion golden dragons or whatever, and become the richest house in the North. And
absolutely,
he's away for free to some kid.
Right, just because John needed a Valyrian steel blade. Like, it's just they should have had a better reason.
God.
Better reason or something.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to think of like better reasons to give John his blade or something. Like they could have had, I think,
George just made Valyrian steel too rare. Like I think he made it I think initially it wasn't that rare, and then he made it more rare in like Storm of Swords and stuff with Tywin talking about it.
Right, that he couldn't get it. He couldn't even get a hold of one. And you're like, really, you can't? Like, how about when Jorah Mormont like couldn't afford to his wife's singers and needed money and decided to like get into slavery? You don't think you could have offered Jorah Mormont a lot of fucking money and had him hand over that sword?
Oh God, you're right.
What if Aemond attacks Dragonstone? Do they run to that spot and sing for the dragons to come? And if they attack King's Landing, how Aemond can get there quickly? I mean, that's the thing is people will be able to transport or not transport as fast as they need them to. So Aemond's going to be away, obviously, and yes, he should be able to get back to King's Landing very quickly, but he won't, but also like in the book, it kind of makes sense because you're supposed to know that like ravens take a while to let people know that, and so when Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, it's like a fairly big deal. And they're like, oh geez, Aemond doesn't want to attack because they have a couple dragons there. So Plus, strategically, there was no real, there's not much purpose to it because the king flees and things like that. So,
Mm.
but yeah, uh, but yeah, they're just gonna do whatever they want with the dragons and dragon speed. But almost in a sense though, because they've made Aemond not care about anybody, he should be the type that, yeah, when Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, he should be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna burn the city to the ground. Because he's that kind of character. Well, he wasn't necessarily that character in the book. He wasn't just fuck the small folk.
Mm.
There's Trey in the chat. I'm that far back.
Sorry.
I'm that far back. Oh, it's already midnight. Okay.
I know I should stop talking so much.
Your thoughts? We know HBO would love to do multiple Game of Thrones spinoffs. How about a history series covering famous events and stories as seen through Bran? Should it happen, what would be like to see covered? The thing is that like they already have the proposals that they need. We'll see how Dunk and Egg goes, but after this, they're talking about Aegon's conquest and stuff like that. And then, 10,000 ships and Corlys is
ET,
7.
ET.
Yeah, right.
Baby.
But what famous stories and events would I like to see? I would love to see what the fuck happened at Summerhall. I would love to see what happened with like anything happening with Starfall and stuff like that. I think, Doom of Valyria would be fascinating. Hardhome, like the original Hardhome destruction would be interesting. All these things would be fascinating to know about. The slave revolt in Valyria.
Oh yeah.
Founding of Bravos, that kind of stuff. That would all be interesting. Anything with Karth. Just like let me know anything about Karth.
The greatest city that ever was and ever will be.
Yes, that's what
You need the Starfomen.
Why do all these nobles get to think their bloodlines on the throne is a win? Considering the Targs aren't full human, kind of makes it gross. I mean, it's an odd thing because it is true that like most people are not as ambitious as like the people that we make entertainment and politics revolves around. Like in truth, like there's this old myth, like doesn't everyone want to be rich, and doesn't everyone like strive to be like president of the United States or something? And the truth is no. Most people don't do that. Most people just want safety and security for their friends and family, and they want to be around their friends and family, and they want to maintain their standard of living that allows them to be around their friends and family. Most people don't aspire for anything better or anything worse. Like they just want the same thing. The thing is that there are some people that do aspire, and so politics gets filled with those people. And it is true that like when you look at the infighting that goes on in the show, you're just like, oh my God, like why doesn't a single one of them like stop for a moment and rest and be like, dude, we're going to kill ourselves. Why do you want to be king when like somebody's going to try to kill you? But when you actually look at like the War of the Roses or like Roman history, yeah, they did all act like that. And you're just like, oh my God, like, why would you want that job? Because like, you're going to get fucking killed. And then the minute, like, it's, like it's the Sword of Damocles situation, right? Like who would want to be under the Sword of Damocles? But apparently enough people do. So, and if you're raised in that environment, I suppose that's what you want. So, but most people are not like that. Most people don't aspire to, these powerful positions because of these reasons. Put on some headphones. Fine. I did it, man. I did it. Economist is good for news. Yeah, I mean, Economist has always been probably one of the best uh, magazines for news. I used to have a subscription for many years, but um, the vote to save democracy can be cast for anyone. Might as well make the candidate coherent. I mean, it's true, but it's about who people have loyalty for. Um, Joe Biden spent a lot of time um, making friends and doing things for people, and there's certain loyalty comes with that. I mean, just like people say, like, oh, why is the Black Caucus like super behind Biden? And it's like because for freaking 40 years he went to like every civil rights like anytime a civil rights leader died, he went to their funerals, like, and they fucking remembered that, and he fucking did it. Like, he spent years and years and years building this relationship. And it's like, yes, somebody else is like has the same beliefs and is in the same crew, but they're not the same dude that did it, so that's kind of thing. Like, and it goes to something else. Like, okay, say you're a voter out there who had their student loans like forgiven by Joe Biden, and say you like him now because like he forgave your student loans. Kamala Harris, yeah, she's great, but she didn't forgive your student loans. Joe Biden did, and so there's that little change, right? That personality does kind of matter, and loyalty does kind of matter. So I do think that I do think we're in a weaker position with Kamala, but I'm supporting her 100%. She's the one to vote for. But
the young people like her. I see all the young people posting memes about Kamala and stuff and how hip she is. She's like dancing and stuff.
Hopefully
they take the time to vote. That's the thing.
Yeah. Here's the headphones again. Okay. Is it mispronounced Celtigar or Celtigar? We don't know. And it doesn't really matter. I don't think George himself pronounces things in ways that just like make me nuts. Like one big thing is, so George R. R. Martin says Dothraki, which makes no sense to me, right? Like adding an I on the end of stuff to make something plural, like, or to make a people of. Like, we know it pretty readily in Arabic, right? So like we think of people from Iraq are Iraqi, people from Jordan are Jordani or Dani, people from Qatar or Qatari. Like, we know this even in it's passed from English, it's passed from Arabic to English, so we know the E sound on the end means a people from someplace. So like now we get Dothraki. Okay, great. We're all on board. Every fan is on board. The people that did Game of Thrones are on board. Everybody says Dothraki. George R. R. Martin says Dothraki. How he's getting Dothraki from, I don't know. He's the author, but he somehow says Dothraki. He says, he doesn't say House Valarian. He says House Valyrian. And stuff like this. Yeah.
With Celtigar, it's like Crab Isle, so I think of like Crab Celtigar, like it's that kind of thing instead of Celtigar, but I don't know. Like the alliteration, I think, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, Crab Celtigar. Or you think like the Celts, but then again, there's the weird thing with Celts is we say the Boston Celtics, but we say Celtic, like any other time. But it's so, whatever. What can you do?
Yeah.
Carmine's back. Things that gets me is so I lived in Barcelona for a while, and like historically the character, the Hamilcar Barca is who Barcelona is named after. And so they call this the soccer team Barca based off of Hamilcar Barca, who Barcelona is named after. But when like the Brits talk about the team, they say Barca. And you're like, that bugs me for a couple reasons. One, like, there's no C-A sound in English, but like wasn't his name Hamilcar Barca? Like, or am I just? But it's like, oh, but it's Barcelona, so it's going to be Barca. But it's like, what whatever. But Celtigar, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. How you doing, Carmine?
Hey, Carmine.
I'm doing. Hey, you got in here.
Hey.
Nice. I
I
called
am
Trey.
here.
I don't know what he was doing. Where the fuck have you been? Things have been falling apart while you've been on vacation. Motherfucker got shot. Unfortunately, it didn't go through. But still, by the way, did you hear the joke that Tenacious D made? Kyle Gass. He said like, "Damn, it sucks the guy missed," and all of a sudden, everyone's flipping out as though we need to hold Tenacious D to a higher standards than we do our politicians. We're actively calling for Joe Biden to die for the last several years. Have you noticed that? Have you heard that news?
Yeah, like no one's bothered even to know the guy's name, but everyone's like, the other guy from Tenacious D said something shock. Even though everyone was saying hang Mike Pence, and we have like a million things like Trump like made fun of Nancy Pelosi's husband for nearly getting beaten to death. But the other guy from Tenacious D said a bad thing about Trump. Like,
yeah, it's Trey, what the fuck, man? Every time you go off to vacation, something crazy happens. What's going on?
I know. I need to go more often. This historical event. And it's not even that. I was on vacation, and the day I got back from vacation, this is crazy. This might be sharing too much, but I was temporarily, involuntarily committed by a hospital, and it was like the scariest thing I've ever had. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What you do?
It's a lot to get into, but I talked to my therapist, and I want to get on medication, and my therapist for some reason gave me was like, you should go to a hospital and ask him for medication in the hospital, and like I was like, yeah, okay, I want some. I'm a little depressed. My therapist told me to come here, and I'm looking to talk to somebody to get on medication. You go to a pharmacist for that, or a psychologist. Or psychiatrist, but my therapist for some reason told me to do that, and the hospital thought I was like
on suicide watch.
On suicide watch, and they're like, oh, come this way, we'll take you to the doctor, and they bring me to like it was literally a cell. It was like a concrete cell, no windows, and it had a bed in the center and a sink. And as soon as I looked, I was like, there's been some kind of mistake here or something like that. But I was like, okay, maybe this is just temporarily. And doctor came in, and eventually after like 40 minutes, and I was like, hey, yeah, I'm a little depressed. I'm struggling with depression and anxiety. Could I get on some medication or something? And she like was acting weird. She was like standoffish with me. Like she was like standing like 6 feet away at all times, and talked to me for like 2 minutes and then left. And then the next thing I know, a nurse is coming in asking for my information. And as I was like talking to her, she's asking for my birth date. Another nurse comes in and like throws a green jumpsuit down on the bed next to me with the grippy socks, the psych ward grippy socks. And I was like, no, this is a misunderstanding. Like, I'm not putting that on. I think there's been a mistake here. I don't need that. And she's like, no, you need to put this on. Like, just flatly, like, you need to put this on. It's like, no, I don't need to put that on. And and I was like, am I allowed to leave? And they're like, no, you're not allowed to leave. You've been, whatever it's called in my state, where she's like, the doctor has deemed you unfit for your safety or something like that. And you're committed now. It's insane. And the first thing I said is like, can I talk to a lawyer? And she said no. And I was like, okay. And anyway, so I was stuck there.
So I imagine you're freaking out.
I was freaking out. I was like about to cry. I was like, oh my gosh, like, because I thought it was like, I don't know,
right?
I've never been in a situation like that.
One flew over the cuckoo's nest or something. Yeah,
been committed. Where like, yeah, it's exactly that. Where you're not allowed to leave anymore, and they're like, take off your clothes, give me your shoes, give me your phone and your wallet. And I was like, I'm gonna make some phone calls. I think there's been a mistake here, and I like called my family, and I called my therapist, and my therapist was like, oh, I don't know why they would do that. That's a misunderstanding. And so anyways, they took away my stuff, and because I was freaking out, and next thing I knew, like a security guard like materialized out of the wall, like outside my cell, because they were like worried that it was gonna run. And so I didn't run. I kept my cool. I was like, I think there's a mistake. And the nurse is like, the doctor signed the thing. The only way to do it is to ask the doctor to rescind it or get the doctor rescinded, and that's rare. So you're going to be stuck here for at least a night. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. So they took all my stuff away, and I was stuck there for 7 hours. Because I eventually called my therapist, and she was like, I'll talk to the doctor. And I got my parents on the line too. And eventually I was able to convince the doctor that it was not like suicide watch or something like that, that the doctor totally misunderstood me. And yeah, so anyway, so I was like locked in a cell without my phone, without the internet,
That's
without anything.
brutal. That's absolutely
It
brutal. I'm
sucked.
so sorry that happened to you.
It made me realize, I'm sorry to overshare, but it made me realize just how bad the mental health care system in the United States is. Because like I didn't want to be there, I didn't belong there, I don't know
Right,
why
right,
this happened,
right.
and it just like, and I thought it was going to be there for 3 or 4 days or something like that, because that's what they told me is like standard. And I'm very thankful that I didn't freak out and I didn't act like a crazy person, because like I easily could have, and especially if you're like a minor or something like
I
that,
mean,
or
I
on
almost feel
drugs or
like a
something.
normal person would have freaked out. And, you know,
It was scary.
man.
It took a lot for me not to freak out. And that like police officer afterwards, when I was walking out, he saw me. He's like, "Hey, you did a really good job today," or something like that. Not freaking out, like because I guess he deals with people who freak out or something. But it was a bizarre. It was like it was like the worst day of my life in a while, where I was like, "This
You're
sucks."
like,
Like,
therapists do not recommend doing that any other fucking time ever again to
don't go
anyone
to the
else.
hospital.
No, my
Yeah,
God.
don't go to the hospital if you're asking for help, because they will totally misunderstand you. Like I guess they have their protocol or something like that,
Right.
but
Because of like,
um,
insurance and risk. Like, that's the thing. Is like, no one wants
yeah,
to be the person. This is a bit, yeah, this is a big thing I always run into. Like, no one wants to be the person to like let somebody off. Like, everyone wants to play it safe for their own job, which is not
mm,
necessarily playing it safe for everybody else. Playing it,
yeah,
everybody, like, no one wants to be the guy who said, this guy's fine, let him leave. you know?
yeah. It was a super dehumanizing situation, because I've never gone to jail or something, and it definitely wasn't as bad as jail, but it was like that, where like I had to like they took all my clothes away, they took my phone away, and I was not allowed to leave, and they didn't give me anything to
Hmm.
do. I had to ask for. I saw a book on the wall behind a nurse, and it was the nurse that was mean to me. Like there were two nurses. There was one that like understood that he didn't belong there and was trying to help me get out the whole time, and there was another nurse that just didn't give a shit. She was like, I don't know, she was phoning it in. It's a long job, I guess. Anyways, I was like, what am I supposed to do for the, because I thought it was going to be there for a couple days. Like it takes a while for them to rescind the thing, and you got to talk to a counselor to really straighten things out. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? There's nothing to do here. And they're like, we don't have anything to do for you. You just sit in your room and you're not allowed to leave. And there was a book on the wall, like behind the nurse, that I think another nurse had brought in. And I was like, can I have the book? Because I don't have anything to do. And it was the Bhagavad Gita, which is like, like it's basically, it's kind of like the Hindu equivalent of like a book of the Bible or something like that. And I read the whole Bhagavad Gita while I was there for 7 hours. It's like because like you're not allowed to close the door, you're not allowed to turn the lights off, so you can't really sleep. And also it's loud because it's a hospital, it's an emergency hospital, so like there's people who are like moaning and screaming and in pain and stuff. And eventually I got a neighbor, like the cell next to me. A bunch of cops came in and deposited like a guy who I think was on drugs or something like that in the cell next to me, like a grown guy, who they had to like sign papers for and stuff. So I don't know, it sucked. And then gave me food, but I couldn't have any silverware, so I had to eat it with my hands. So I was like eating like applesauce with my hands and like pot pie with my hands on my bed, and it was gross. It sucked. Worst experience.
This
So,
So
is
what you're
this is
saying is your
horrible.
anyways,
vacation was okay. It was okay. It was fine.
yeah, it all
That's
worked out, but
that's that's
it,
that's
it
that's
is it
just
is very
all
dehumanizing.
that's all atrocious. That's just atrocious that this
Do
whole
you, do
thing
you think
happened
you'll
to
be
you.
making a video on your experience?
I don't want. I could like I after doing it, I was like, this is a genuine problem, and I want to help people in the system because because like I was the exception. They're not supposed to like I was calm and collective and was able to negotiate with the counselor to explain my situation that this is a big misunderstanding. Um, and I know that that's not the case with most people. Like, I don't know, like, and I was lucky that they called because they called my therapist. My therapist didn't pick up because it was late. It was after hours. So my therapist, so they're like, "Can you call your dad or your mom?" And it's like, "Yeah." And so they called my mom and my dad, and my mom and my dad like explained the situation too. But they totally like my dad, if he wanted to commit me and like and put me in like an inpatient facility, like he could have, because that was out of my hands. Like if he's like, no, he's genuinely crazy, you need to keep him there, like he needs help. Like it was crazy where like as soon as the doctor signs that order, it's you have
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
no autonomy. Like it's your rights are gone. Like you're at the mercy of the state now. It's crazy. And usually they send you that usually they hold you there for like a day, and they send you to an inpatient facility, like a psych ward, like one flew of the cuckoo's nest situation, and then you're supposed to negotiate your way out or whatever, or get help.
Someone in the
Right, right.
comments,
I
Trey,
was
asked, do you have any,
oh
what's that book you read? Bhagavad Shamalala? What
Bhagavad
is it?
Gita. It's Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad
It's a
Gita.
conversation between Krishna and
Of
a
course.
Hindu king, and they're like,
Do you have
I
any theories
learned
based off that
everything
book, by
about
the
like
way?
Hinduism from
What's
it.
funny is that like had you found like if you found enlightenment from that book, it would have been like an incredible moment. Like, but
Instead I found it like how, because I grew up Christian, so it was funny reading it where it felt like Christianity with a different coat of paint to me. Like it had a
mm,
lot of like similarities to like Holy Spirit, and like a lot of the language was very very similar. I was like, oh, this is kind of like very similar to the religion I grew up with. So yeah. Anyway, I learned, like, it got me to read. Like I read the whole thing while I was there. Oh my
You
gosh.
think you'll make a video
Yeah.
on that book?
see, now you know so
Yeah,
much about that book.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it was kind of cool. Yeah, I guess it was kind of cool. Like, I don't know, Hindu. It's kind of like Hindu mythology because it's like set like 50,000 years in the
The
past
thing
or
is
something
like
like that.
Hinduism. It's not like Buddhism where there's like abstract philosophical like appeal to it. Like Hinduism, it's like right now like we believe in a whole bunch of like gods, like in an actual like polytheistic sense, like and like monkeys, like monkey gods that start cities on fire, and like you're just like, this is a little ridiculous. Like like who becomes a Hindu, like who converts to Hinduism, like looking at the religion and being like, yeah, no, Hinduism makes sense. Like,
John Lennon. John Lennon and George Harrison. Because I was reading it, and there's so much lore you have to know to read the Bhagavad Gita. Because it's like it was a version with a commentary, so like at least explain it. But it's like it like it just constantly goes off into tangents on like yes, Krishna was once the snake god that founded the universe with Vishnu and was born from his belly button, and you're like, whoa, and then like, he was once the horned fish, and you're like, what are you where is this coming from? Like there's a lot of lore that you have to know, because it references stuff and you don't know what it's referencing. The Bible does that too, but
yeah, yeah,
it's I don't
absolutely.
know, for
Same
me
with the
it's
Quran. Like they'll be like, as you know, like in the, like, I mean, when they say like Jesus was in the belly of the beast, um, like you have to know Jonah to know that like
yeah,
Jesus is now in the, that kind of stuff. So, referencing to
yeah.
itself. Oh man.
For the
Um,
attention, yeah. I know you're trying to get through the super chat.
oh, let's get it.
That's where I was. That's where I was missing for a bit.
Man, so many. I'm looking forward to this Hindu video that's going to come. Regarding Robert's death, it's implied that Varys, in his chat with Ned, that Cersei had multiple plans to kill Robert, and the boar just got him first. See, that makes more sense. That like the boar is a really stupid plan, but if it's like the 50th plan that Cersei had put into place, and it was the one that finally worked, then maybe. Like there's actually like a long list of plans that she should have been thinking about in A Feast for Crows, of like ones that didn't work, you know. But I feel like she kind of like got to a point where she needed to kill Robert, and that it happened fairly quickly. But maybe there were some other guards or whatever along that were going to assassinate him. Did you know that you nailed the memory, sorrow, and thorn environmental parallel in the prologue of the fanfic? I did not know this.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd have to figure out what exactly that was. I did not know that because I've not read that.
Dang, that means it's a good theory then. If
know,
multiple people could get it independent.
Possible explanation for King's Landing starving. Most food comes in through the sea, so inefficient and more expensive comes in land. The Greens keep people from leaving to the countryside to keep them from working for the war, so people blame them. Yeah, I mean, look, the public is kind of like weird and fickle. Let's get it like. We can kind of accept that, but I don't see how the food would come in through the sea and how they would have that as their system when, it has there's a river and roads that lead right to King's Landing. Putting stuff on a boat takes time. It's going to be expensive. There's only so much that fits in a ship. Stuff rots, things like this. Like, there's just, I don't know. There's just so, and plus like the minute there's not food, then all of a sudden you can increase your prices. So you're increasing demand to bring in food. Like, oh my God, I can make why isn't a single person being like, I can make a killing by bringing this, like my crops to King's Landing to sell. Everybody's starving. Like, it's just so easy at that point economically. I just don't see how a naval blockade can cause King's Landing to starve. It just doesn't seem right. Let's see here. Finally getting to the end. Okay. Wicked cushions for headphone hothead. Recommend streamer comp video showing the headphones dead. That they never do. They had shave for a cure. Wicked cushions for the headphone hothead. Yes, it's true that I guess I made some super chats on regarding to the headphones. Carmine always wants me to put on headphones constantly.
I know, he told me to tell you to put on headphones when we started this.
Yes, you have to, because I come through your speakers and I echo.
LOL. Yeah, my last question was more of a hypothetical.
Oh, yes. And somebody commented, yes, the Bhagavad Gita is where I've become death, destroyer of worlds comes from. Yeah. But he took it, Oppenheimer totally took it out of context. Like, I found it and was like, yeah, this guy totally took it out of context because it's just time. He's referring to time. I've become time. I'm death. Like, I destroy everything. Anyways, it pissed me off. I was like, this Oppenheimer's a poser.
Yeah, the hypothetical. This is the hypothetical on how fun it's going to be when Belwas like makes it to Westeros. It's true. It's true. Most powerful non-noble is the Grand Maester Citadel. That's probably true. The Citadel is the most powerful non-noble. Just for fun, Cersei's last words, Uncle Garyon. Like Uncle Garyon is like kills her for some reason. I mean, I feel like Uncle Garyon, he needs to be this character that like is going to save the house, right? If he makes it, and then he somehow like doesn't make it in time. Like if only Uncle Garyon made it back, like everything would be okay. He would fix it all, and then he gets killed. Like his ship just gets like destroyed in a storm. Like in the last, you're like, oh man, had he only made it. Bloodlines continue even if you're not even if you're not royalty. That is true. Laenor went beyond the wall, leaving Sea Smoke with no one to talk to anymore. Sea Smoke needed to dish on audacity of Darkland trying to ride him. This is the idea that the wall blocks the telepathic visions. Like John can't sense ghosts beyond the wall, so Laenor for some reason is beyond the wall. So Sea Smoke like lost the ability to connect with him recently, and they just kind of made this like because they just kind of made up that Sea Smoke is all of a sudden being restless, and like for no reason he's restless. We have no idea what's happening with Laenor, but. Yeah, Laenor went beyond the wall, I guess. How come Corlys never tried to claim a dragon? I think the in-world explanation you get is like only Targaryens can get it. Like no one is thinking that the Velaryons can do it, even though they should be able to from the Valyrian blood. I think it also has to do with like who owns them. And so the dragons are in two locations. They're either in the Dragon Pit or they're in the Dragonmont. And so he would have to request House Targaryen to let him on. And so, yeah, he's married to Rhaenys, but why else would they like allow him on? Like he would have to request and then the king would like deny him. Lena got hers in the show because Vhagar was just randomly flying on Driftmark. But like there's no explanation in the book on how she got it. It doesn't really, it's kind of a huge plot hole. But so yeah, I mean the idea is just that like unless he's gonna try to claim Vhagar, which he just never did because he would have to request access to the Dragonmont in order to like go in and try to claim a dragon. And they just would be like, no, why would we want you to have a dragon? We're edging for Kamala, do not come. What does this mean?
There's a video where Kamala like in a speech says like, do not come. And people edit it with whether it's Trump or he's like, I'm gonna come.
Oh, she's like, do not come. I gotcha.
It's like a dirty joke.
Harris Harlaw, Gerald Goodbrother, and Dunstan Drum in Lord Hewitt's castle plotting rebellion against Euron. I think so. I think that was definitely a I think there was definitely some moments where like Roderick the Reader, like talking to people that they were definitely thinking about something, plotting something, or unhappy about something. But it's one of those situations where George kind of seeds something and you're not sure if he's ever going to get back to it. But yeah, absolutely. Roderick, where he sees him kind of whispering and conspiring. But this kind of stuff is all over the place. Like there's a scene in A Clash of Kings where Dantos like goes off and like whispers to Balon Swan, and you're like, oh, does that mean something? You're like, no, it didn't mean anything. They just like they saw something and then they kind of like whispered to each other, and you're like, no, it just didn't mean anything. Or there's like
I'm thinking of a Balon Swan having like a dinner with lollies, right?
Yeah, like the people like you can read into like a Balon Swan's dinner, and you're like, does that mean anything? And you're like, no.
He's gay. That's what it means.
Okay, right. Like he says, here we go. Lady Tanda gave a small supper last night. I have the menu and the guest list for your inspection. When the wine was poured, Lord Giles rose to lift a cup to the king, and Lord Balon and Sir Balon Swan was heard to remark, "We'll need 3 cups for that." Many laughed. When's that coming back? When's that little thing coming back? The connection between Lady Tanda, that's Stokeworth, Rosby, Swan connection. When's it coming back?
Giles Rosby faked his death. He's coming back. He's in the Red Keep still. He's in the walls.
Yeah. Or there's there's like a whole bunch of different people that are like whispering and like talking to each other in Joffrey's wedding at the purple wedding. And you're like, oh, are they conspiring? Are they doing something? Are they getting together? And they're just talking. They're just talking. Trust your candidate to know when to raise up the boots to a hook. How is that getting censored? YouTube. I don't. F
I don't know
me.
what that
I
means.
hate it. I guess he was trying to say something that was getting censored and um the that yeah, I'm not sure what this is, but yes, I believe that like YouTube does random censoring. You don't get this Trey, because you don't cuss during your videos, but like first of all, anytime I talk about politics and anytime I cuss, like I get yellowed, I get limited, and then I have to like appeal it. And most of the time I win the appeal, but it's just so weird.
That is weird.
When you
Dang.
appeal, what do you do? Like, what do you say? You just say, "No, I didn't curse." Like, what do you
Yeah,
say?
it just says, "Are you sure there's nothing inappropriate in your video?" Yes. And
That's
then
it.
yeah,
That sucks.
it's just a button.
Son of a bitch. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my God, can we see more battles, please? This is supposed to be about war. The last two
Oh,
episodes
Jesus
especially
Christ.
driven me up the wall. Well, I mean, last episode I wouldn't have minded some little action in the middle.
Trey,
Could've-
have you heard about this? About this
Is there
bullshit that's
people?
been going on?
There's Zoomers that are like really bored with. They're like people are
Did you see
talking,
my
right?
tweet?
They're
It
like,
blew the fuck up randomly. Did you see it?
I did see. Yeah. Let me pull it up real quick.
Because it came out of fucking nowhere. You have people in that thread. I was showing this to Preston, and he was like, "What?" You have people in that Twitter thread going, "Dave and Dan would have done better. They should come back." I'm like, dude, what? You know what I'm talking about, Preston?
Yeah.
Let me
Like,
see.
we
if I can
talked
find
about it
this
briefly.
tweet.
Like,
People all of a sudden, I mean, it's sort of like it's like people getting nostalgic for Trump. It's like how are you nostalgic for this? Like people getting nostalgic for Dan and Dave. Of course, with Dan and Dave, I can at least compliment them on a few things. I can't really compliment Trump on anything. So like
Except the dialogue isn't as good as early Game of Thrones. I disagree. Is the dialogue no?
the problem is early Game of Thrones lifted lines from the source material, like
Yeah.
straight up. So like that's a lot of it, like so many good lines are like lifted word for word almost. So it's hard to compliment Dan and Dave on the writing of the first three seasons, because you have the full plot is there and a lot of the dialogue is there already. I compliment them on pacing and things like that, which they're very good at.
you also have that in some of the delivery. For example, I love Ser Jorah, and I think it was season 3, where he says, "There's a beast in every man, and it stirs when you put a sword in his hand." But in the books, I have the quote here. He says, "There's a savage beast in every man, and when you hand that man a sword or a spear and send him forth to war, the beast stirs." The show did it better.
Yeah.
The show, it's
Yeah.
Right. Or like, at the Blackwater, in the book, Tyrion says, "Those are brave men, let's go kill them." But he says it like as an offhanded thing randomly to like one, like, I think it might be Balon Swan, like next to him. But they made that part of his like rousing speech in the show. And it worked much better as a rousing speech. "Those are brave men. Let's go kill them." Like,
Yeah.
Preston, that scene was ruined because he didn't have the giant chain.
the chain. Oh, if only he had the fucking chain.
It would have been a 10 out
no.
of 10. It's a 9.5 out of 10. but
There were no
the chain would've
antler. Where are the fucking antler men, man? That's what we needed. Antler men splatting here and there. That's what we needed. Antler men. If without the antler men, how can it be the Blackwater man? That's like fucking Sopranos or The Wire. Which do you like more? Now, keep in mind that I have only seen a handful of episodes of The Wire, and it's of The Sopranos. I'm sorry, I've seen The Wire complete like a couple times. I've only seen a handful of episodes of The Sopranos, and so it's not really fair I can tell you of the episodes I saw, I liked The Wire much better, but
Wire went downhill after season 3, my love. I know you love season 4, the school stuff.
yeah, seasons 1 and 4 are the best. Yeah.
I love season 3. Season 3,
I mean, we can all agree. We can all agree that season 5 is a hot mess. But yeah,
it's not great. Trey, you've never seen either?
Never seen either. I'll say Breaking Bad. I've not seen either.
Ships hold exponentially more in terms of weight compared to river barge and horse and cart. I don't think the word exponentially is really the right word, but does a ship hold more? Yes, but you can put more, like, it doesn't matter. Like you've got plenty more tiny little river barges. You don't have to have everything in one big ship. Like, you can have many carts and many walking people and many river barges. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of silly. Like, there's many more cities, many more huge cities that are built on rivers inland than big cities built on a coast where there's a port. When I think of the most important cities in the world, and through history, you've got, let's take Damascus. All right. Damascus is a couple 100 miles inland, right? And it grew to be huge. Rome is not even on the water. Like, you still have to you still have to carry things inland quite a bit. Paris is over 100 miles from the sea. London, 100 miles from the sea. Like I say, like Xi'an, 1,000 miles from the sea. Beijing is not even on a fucking river. That's how fucking crazy it is with Beijing. Like, this idea that you can't bring things to cities by river or over land, and that's not, like, of course you can. Of course you fucking can. Like, no one is going to be official, let's do everything by grain because of this fucking like ancient Rome situation. First of all, it's the Middle Ages. There's been a revolution in agriculture. It's a completely different situation. You cannot compare agriculture in ancient times to, like, medieval times. It's night and day difference. It's the one reason, well, it's the two reasons why they say that the misnomer of the Dark Age is that, like, one, agriculture and weaponry are, like, just massive advances in these terms. So I just, like, no, King's Landing should not be starving. Like, plus,
Isn't this a whole plot?
The canon of the book, right? The canon of the book is food gets brought overland from the Reach. Like, that's the canon.
Yeah, from the Rosewood. That's what I was about to say. Like, didn't they cut off the supplies when the Reach was in conflict with the Iron Throne? Yeah, so technically the Reach should be supplying food to King's Landing now in House of the Dragon.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
They did, however, have a moment to answer the famine, though, because briefly Mysaria tells Rhaenyra that House Beesbury has taken up against the crown and the High Towers. So you could have had a moment where she said that the House Beesbury is raiding those supply lines. You could have had that moment there, but for some reason
the road is closed, something like that.
Right.
Something.
That's the thing, is, like, all these things are solvable. Like, you could have just had, like, oh, like, this city has declared for Rhaenyra and they're causing a major problem. Like, they're closing the roads. Like, that's all they had to do, is be like, oh, this road's been closed by this house. That's why we're sending the Hightower army. Like, it could have been something like that to deal with it.
By the way, they've been mentioning Daron a lot, and we got a Red Kraken mention too again. Second of the season so far. There you go. You got your Daron. Almost every complaint we complained about. Where's Daron? You want Daron? He's your fucking Daron.
You're right, Carmine, that the second mention of the Red Kraken makes me wonder if he actually is going to come into the story. Because the first one could just be like an Easter egg for fans.
Do not come. Do not come. Oh, I'm going to come. Do dragon riders ever get struck by lightning? I mean, because they're up in the clouds a lot, is the idea. I imagine. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't know. Do airplanes get struck by lightning all the time? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But
That's a good question. Or
I mean,
birds? The birds that get struck by lightning?
usually the strike of lightning happens because you're like increasing like a circuit, like thus a tall tree or a tall building or something. But I don't know. I don't know if that would happen. I mean, maybe if there are two clouds and you're increasing the circuit. I don't know. I mean, somebody
By
has
the
to
way,
ask if like airplanes get hit
I
a
don't know if
lot.
anyone's mentioned this, but did you notice the shepherd? I won't spoil it for people who have no idea what I'm talking about, but Trey and Prestonius here have both read Fire and Blood with me. Did you know I'm talking about the shepherd that later is very important in King's Landing later on? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice him in this episode?
the shepherd was in this episode?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
The shepherd was in this episode for reals? Where?
You want me to show you real quick? I'll send it to both of you.
Carmine, you genius! Yeah, you're
No,
right.
no,
You're
I
right.
won't take. I won't take credit. It's someone in my server, Archmaester.
I know
Sedgwick.
exactly who he's talking about.
You want me to remind
Oh,
you,
that's
Preston?
pretty good.
Oh, which part?
It's the
The
part
guy-
where the food riot goes off.
The
and
guy
the
gets his
man-
hand cut off.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be the shepherd. Interesting.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Okay.
That's true.
Some guy named Thaddeus Melo says he did not notice the shepherd. Don't worry, buddy. Got you.
How do you audit an auditor? At least for Office of Inspector Generals, on a national level, there's something called peer review, where a different inspector general will peer review and audit the audit organization. So like NASA Office of Inspector General will audit Department of Labor's Inspector General every few years. And they swap around. So yeah, like the Department of Labor Inspector General will audit Department of Labor, but then to make sure that Department of Labor Inspector General has doing things right, they will be audited by another Inspector General in a peer review. Paris is an inland city on a river. Yes. I mean, most cities are on rivers, like because of transport of goods is easier on a river. And land is more fertile, like closer to the water. But but the idea is that King's Landing is on a river. Like it's easy to get food into King's Landing. There's a million ways. There's 3 ways. There's 4 or 5 ways to get food into King's Landing. The reach is split. So, well, the thing is, we haven't heard, like, that's to say, like, all they have to do is mention that a city is cutting off the food supply. That's it.
Yeah, I'm looking at a map of the Blackwater. Yeah, it goes into the Riverlands and into the Westerlands. So, yeah, you could get stuff.
Yeah.
The reach is close by. Yeah.
Audit the Audit is a great channel, huh? I've never heard of it. All right. Apparently, airplanes do get struck by lightning. So yeah, I guess dragons would probably get. I mean, I don't know if they're flying into the clouds so much. You'd think you'd fly lower than the clouds.
I gotta breathe too. I know. We don't really think about that,
Yeah.
but
They can't go too high because they got to breathe, right? But yeah, I'm a brown apple foss away. Let's rivers. I'm totally blanking on rivers.
something flowers. I thought it was flowers.
Flowers. You're right. It's flowers. Obviously he's from the Reach. He's got to be Flowers. Franklin Flowers.
Franklin Flowers. Look at us. We got it at the same time.
Yeah. Aegon equals the shepherd deconfirmed. Was that a theory that Aegon was the shepherd?
What? I don't.
Probably
That's
some
not even
dumbass
possible. They're two
YouTuber.
separate places.
Yeah, Aegon is hiding on Dragonstone at that time, and he has a broken hip and can't really walk around very well.
Trey,
Now,
don't believe
if you want to say that,
dumbass
Laris is the shepherd, well, that's certainly much more possible. Oh man, Okay, so I got through it all, guys. Any last discussions
Yeah.
before I head to bed? It's Trey. Thank you for joining me
Actually,
tonight.
yeah,
Oh,
Trey,
my-
what did you think of the
yeah.
episode? I wasn't here for that.
Oh, I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it. I liked the kiss.
He thought the sexual tension was okay. He thought it was all right.
Damn, I'm
It kind of
sorry.
came.
Getting in there with
It kind of
Damon.
came a little out of nowhere, where like it didn't really exist until this episode, but I thought it was kind of there.
At least for that
Like
scene.
it should build up, right? It should build up like over the course of several episodes. Didn't do that. It definitely didn't do
Oh
that.
shit!
Even
Hold
though
on. Let me show you this. Where is it?
Oh, I
So
wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about George in that blog post where he like decides to dump a whole bunch of dragon lore and stuff? Where he was like,
we just talked about that. We just
"Oh, okay."
fucking talked about that.
Yeah, we should have
I
had
gotta
you. We
put that
should have
out.
had you on the podcast discussion
I
because
don't know where he
Oh, that's
was.
okay.
He was gone. He was like
He's
disappeared.
gone.
I tried
he's
hitting him
fucking.
up.
He was getting committed at a hospital.
I was committed.
Shamalagagala, whatever it's called. Holy shit!
Because like he goes on this weird tangent about like how like dragons don't roam or something. Like they only
Even
hang
though
out.
they
Yeah.
literally roam.
Even though they're
Area
Red Lake and yeah.
got on Balerion, and Balerion literally took her back to Valyria. So it's kind of
It's like
roaming.
all I know is yes that they don't have arms unless you're approving the 2024 calendar. They
Have you seen the 2024 calendar, Trey?
I saw. Is it? Are you talking about like the statues on Dragonstone and how they?
Yeah, where it's
the
like a
four-legged
lava
dragons?
is coming down from it. I don't want to be a dick to the artist because I'm sure he's an amazing artist, but that one picture, that wasn't it, King. That was not it. That was not the one. In my opinion, some
He
parts look
brings it
so
up
bad it
so
looked like
much.
AI. Yeah.
George brings up this stupid leg thing so much that you might as well get it right just for him because he literally brings it up every like other year. Like it's a big deal to him apparently.
the
boy.
shady cast. I mean, the fact that like usually he compliments the show or says nothing, and the fact that he's like throws shade on the show for fucking up the Targaryen sigil, you're like, whoa.
That's why I
However,
was
this
wondering,
calendar
like-
is fine.
People were wondering if it was AI art because like there's so many amazing artists, talented artists out there who would love to do something for George on an official capacity. And it just seems like this guy specifically, he probably doesn't really. He's probably not. Maybe he's a fan of Game of Thrones. Maybe he's not aware of the dragon stuff from George. But, oof, that is.
Why can't Sheep
Is
Stealer
this
found
the
a
thing-
volcano in the Vale? I mean, it's true that we just don't hear about any volcanoes in the Vale, unfortunately. I mean, you're right that the show would be better if they just were like, yeah, there's a volcano in the Vale, and it's hanging out at this one volcano, you know?
Here, Trey, where are you?
Oh yes, I'm here.
Discordia.
Oh, me.
I'll send you
Is this the same calendar that got the weirwoods wrong with they got green?
Yeah.
You got the Weirwoods wrong? Oh,
Yeah,
fuck. We didn't talk about that.
Green
It's one
leaves.
artist.
You're right. Green
That's a
green
big
leaves
one.
on werewoods and arms on dragons, man.
This is the
Ice
same
and
one,
fire.
really?
Yeah,
Holy shit.
it's the one with
What are you
yeah, it's Rhaegar and Lyanna at Harrenhal Werewood.
Come on.
Nice Photoshop job. Could fix that right out.
Oh yeah. What? That's so stupid. Yeah, come on. Like right. It's with the werewood one. I'm like, where's your excuse? Because it's like the one detail about them that's like iconic. That they're
Here,
wearing.
I'll bring this up. I'll bring the picture up so people don't know what we're freaking talking about here. Did you
Come on.
you send this to me on Discord, Carmine, or did you send it to me on
Sure.
Facebook?
I sent it to you on Discordia. You sent them to me, by the way. I sent you a illustration of what the thing looks like. Preston sent me like a bunch of them. Preston sent me one the one from the World of Ice, not World of Ice and Fire, the one from the Fire and Blood illustrated one. Have
You
you ever
sent
seen
me-
that one, Trey? The Dragonstone one. That one looks. No offense to the artist there. That one looks fucking insane.
Which
This is
one?
this is the Dragonstone picture, and it's like, you know, we Carmine and I talk about it quite a bit, but it's like, look at all of these. Look at these big muscular arms. Look at these big muscular arms. I feel like, and granted, maybe I'm imagining this, but I feel like I've seen some of these like dragon heads before on the covers of D&D monster manuals or something, or D&D missions
Yeah.
or something. Like they seem
probably
familiar, you know. So lava flowing
You
out.
get
I
them
don't
with,
remember. I say don't remember
you
this
get that
lava
with
from
dinosaurs a lot.
Davos. Yeah. Don't remember this Davos chapter. You're right. It might be a dinosaur picture or something. Just a
Rest in
Because
peace, you
picture.
got
there's
more,
like
you got
a
one more super
handful of
chat.
dinosaur pictures that are just reused constantly, where artists will trace it. Like it's pretty bad. There's one T-Rex like toy that is constantly retraced
Yeah.
in artwork.
I mean, I used to notice like back when I was young, I used to sneak in and look at my father's Playboys, and like it had gotten to the point where like I knew those Playboys really well, and I started reading comic books, and I started like recognizing like the scenes that where like they'd show a female character, and I'd be like, she's in the pose, and I'd look and I'd be like, that was like 3 months ago, like Miss February. Like how often artists trace, like all these comic book artists were tracing. And like I say, like Carmine and I already made fun of the fucking Rhaegar that looks like
Don't listen-
Rhaegar that's clearly traced from
Yeah.
from
I'm trying to say, like, don't get me in trouble.
From
bro.
Matt Damon or something like that.
no, it's
Chris
Thor.
Hemsworth?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth.
So
I
it's
looked up
fucking
Rhaegar and I
so
literally just like I know exactly the one you're
It's
talking
so obvious. Like
hate
it's
that
so
picture so
fucking
much.
obvious that the guy like traced a Chris Hemsworth picture. It's like over the top obvious. You know, it's very obvious that he like traced a Chris Hemsworth picture, and like, but it was kind of
Great. I will say, so I sent you real quick the one from Alan Douglas, Dragonstone.
Mm.
That do you see? See it on Discord.
That is crazy.
What does it look like? What
what is-
sexual object does that look like?
What is this like dildo
Looks like dragon
butt plug
dildos.
looking thing?
yeah. But I
Yeah,
was saying
yeah,
that's the one that's actually most. That's probably the one that's most accurate to the book.
That
Is
crazy.
that picture?
I like there's this one Clash of Kings. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Book cover where Dragonstone's like a giant monolith, like it's like a square giant monolith. Oh, here it is. Who can I send this to? Oh, this is a really small picture. Yeah, it's fun to see all the interpretations, the fan interpretations. How do I send this? I'm like, I don't know. Let's see. Anyways, I'm like really struggling here. Shoot. Keep talking. I'm trying to forget this to work.
Send me a link and I could.
It's
by the
like
way, Bryce, you got one more super chat.
damn I'm late. Did I talk about? I'm gonna go to bed real soon, but it's like we did talk about Biden. We did talk about Kamala.
Don't miss,
It's like
from Epticus. Epticus.
Send
who's
this
the
to
one?
you.
luckily there's some, you know, essentially to sum up what we talked about before, like, you know, the people trying to get rid of Biden, we're trying to get rid of Kamala too. So, but it's nice that like there's been some planning and scheming with the Biden administration to create a huge outpour of support for Kamala immediately after. So,
Well,
it
you didn't
looks
see
like
the
things-
news.
What's that? She got like
Manchin-
$50 million in like.
That don't mean dick
like-
when
in like-
Elon's like giving Trump
Yeah, I
45 million
know.
a month.
But yeah, Manchin's delusional that Manchin wants to run against her. Like, dude, no one likes you, dude.
Register as a Democrat. Suck my
Like,
dick.
no one
Fuck
likes
outta
you,
here.
man. Like, no, that's fucking nobody. Nobody's voting for you, Manchin. Like, what? No one likes you. He's delusional. Fucking delusional.
Don't
but-
forget the last super chat. I think you have to scroll up a little bit more from Epticus.
Oh, here we go. Hi,
Yeah,
Preston,
yeah.
longtime fan. I don't know your live stream etiquette, but any chance of an off-topic question on Rings of Power? Our essentially my live stream etiquette is anything. I'm open to any questions. So we do talk about Rings of Power, and we will be talking about it when it comes on the air.
Even
in
though
a couple months.
we're putting out a Patreon exclusive where we talk about the art, we talk about the dragons with George and his mistake. I will say though, I do want to clip one thing and send to Yoiston because I'm sure he's going to be over the moon. You were saying how you're not excited for Rings of Power season 2. If anything, you're more excited to talk to Yoiston about it. And I know he's a big fan of yours. You're a big inspiration to him, so I got to send him that clip.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. But I'm more interested in his opinions on everything. You know.
Wait,
so
Trey, are you a Rings of Power guy? Are you a Lord of the Rings fan? I don't know if you.
Not like a huge one. Like I know things. I haven't watched any of Rings of Power.
Lucky you.
Fuck you. Is that what you said?
No, I said lucky you.
Oh, lucky you. I totally misinterpreted. I thought you said fuck you. I was like, whoa. Yeah, all I know is that like Rings of Power, it's okay, right? It's like not great. It's like me.
Yeah. Kamala needs to be exceptionally inspiring to be the first woman of color president, but she isn't really. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I mean, you know, I don't think she's. I mean, honestly speaking, like, I don't think she's like super charismatic, like on some like ungodly level. But I don't think necessarily like Trump is either. So. You know, hopefully.
But we agree, though, that her VP pick is going to be very important. It should be like some random white guy from one of the battleground states. We agree on that.
Yeah. Though, again, vice presidents don't really matter that much. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like people don't pick their vote on it. So, I mean, look, it's an uphill. But like I say, I think Biden had a better shot. I think it was a bad move removing Biden. I think, you know, it's harder work with Kamala, but I'm behind Kamala 100%. So that's all, you know, we gotta, you know, you gotta do it or else they're gonna, man, it's gonna be a fucking, you know, they're gonna start locking up Trey and deporting Carmine. It's gonna be bad news.
I will say though, that
I'm gonna be out of people to talk to. I'm gonna be out of people to talk to if Kamala doesn't win. Okay.
She needs a VP. Like, it's probably going to be a white guy. It needs to be someone with experience, someone who's won elections before and is comfortable serving under a black president and who has connections in Congress. Honestly, Joe Biden really should be your VP. Joe Biden.
You just make it Harris Biden instead of Biden.
Harris Biden. Why the fuck not? Cinches up Pennsylvania nicely, baby. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. It's like Bernie is he's gonna be too old. They can't pull that. But
next, not a blog post. George goes, guess who's vice president or something like that.
Yeah. Guess who was picked for vice president? No, he'd be like, you know who would make a great vice president? And he's like, my friend, like Wilton Thomas, great sci-fi author from 1978. We've been hanging out and like, oh my god, like who? Like, you know, it's just.
Carmine, you bastard! By the way, you posted about the new Wild Cards book. I saw that.
Did you hear the news? No, not that one. The other one. George releasing a new book. Wild Cards, huh?
He's presenting it, right? He's not even editing anymore. He's just it says presented by George R. Martin, right?
Preston said the same thing.
Yeah. It's not. He has nothing to do with Wild Cards anymore. But it's his original universe. So all 3 Wild Cards people that are. Did I tell you about my poll once? The poll I put on my channel?
Yeah, how did the poll go? What
it was more people than I thought. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Let me check the numbers again because I gotta go to. Okay, it was. Okay, so I asked how. I'll bring it up here. So, how much of a fan? We'll move you over here, Trey.
Duck out of the way.
How much of a fan of George R. Martin's Wild Cards are you? Okay, 9,400 votes. Okay. Now keep in mind, this is skewed towards people that are really fucking into George R. R. Martin. Okay. You think that if you are, one, subscribed to the Preston Jacobs channel, and two, voting in my fucking poll, that you are an exceptional George R. R. Martin's fan. Like, I think, like, so we're talking the craziest 9,400 people on George R. R. Martin answered it 89%. I've never read a word of it. On that additional 6%, I've read maybe a page of Wildcards. And some people answered that I've read a page because you've quoted a page in your videos. And then an additional 4% who actually tried and read a book's worth. But you get to, honest to God, Wildcard fans, 1%. Okay, 1%. So getting an audience of extreme George R. R. Martin fans, out of 9,400 of them, 94 are actually Wildcard fans.
How many votes? 9.4?
Yeah, 9,400.
9,400?
Yeah, so 94. 94 people.
93. I was the one. I also voted. And I 93.
But how are they selling books when there's 93 people? And this is the 93 people out there.
Maybe 92. I might have.
I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know it was that bad because you're right. Like, who is buying the books?
Who is buying these?
Like, why would they pay money to bind these physically and ship them out to bookstores and stuff? Like, who is buying them? Like,
yeah. And the thing is okay, you're like, okay, Preston, you're super arrogant. There's a lot of George R. R. Martin fans that don't care about you. And it's like, okay. But say I am let's say 1% of the super fans. All right. Like, let's multiply that number by 100. You're still just not getting enough books that you'd ever want to print it. Like, you could multiply that by 100 and you're just like, why would, no one is going to, that's still just not enough reason to print Wildcards. I just don't get it.
I have academic friends who write about Greek history, obscure Greek history topics, and get published in books that get more of an audience, I think, than Wildcards does based off of this. Or at least you're getting academics. I just don't know who they are. I don't know who they are because the thing is, I was really surprised that 100. I got 100 people to be like, no, I really like Wildcards. But that's only 100. It's like Trey. If we printed, if George R. R. Martin came out with another Thousand Worlds book, right? You and me, we would be buying that book immediately, and we'd be like, holy shit. But I understand that we might be the only ones. I mean, and some other fans of the Thousand World Books Club. I mean, but I'm assuming that all Thousand World Book Club fans that exist out there, and let's say there's 10,000 of them. That's still not enough. I know that's really fucking high, but that wouldn't be enough to print a Thousand Worlds book. I refuse to believe 10,000 people know what a Harangan mind is.
Listen, I do have a question for you before you bounce. Two questions, actually. The first, have you read Wildcards? Like, any of them?
Yeah. I've read quite a few.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And the other question is, if George came to you and was like, hey, man, I really like what you're doing with the fanfic. Do you want to write a Wildcards? Would you?
He would never do that. If he knew about the fanfic, he'd be angry with me and hurt and would give me the finger. I'm sure of it. But
he said, hey, Preston, do you want to write a Wildcards?
I guess I don't see. The thing is I have a job, and it's I would need to quit my job to do that. I don't know. I've Carmine knows my job more in detail. On think of what I do, but like, would I quit that job for writing wild cards? No, I don't think I would. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, okay. What about 1,000 Worlds? He gives you his notes on Avalon, and he asks you to finish it for him.
That would be more. That maybe I'd do that.
Yes, yes.
Like, you want me to write Avalon? Okay, all right. Maybe the series is big in Japan, like anime. Maybe
That's true.
It's true that like
Maybe.
people do love,
That's true that Tough Voyaging has like prints in anime in anime in Japanese and stuff. Like there's book covers in Japan and stuff. So maybe.
If he found out about the fanfic, he'd misgender me. I actually defended George on that one. Yeah.
I like how they made him go back and edit it, and it sounds really clunky and weird now.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? I
He went
told
back
you.
and edited it, and I don't know if he's edited it since then, but it sounds really it's obvious that he did not intend for it to be written that way originally. Like, what did he say?
Trey, did you see like some of the most ridiculous people? Like, we need to teach this old man a lesson. Did you see those?
Yes, I did see that. They're like
First of all, he's 75. You're not teaching any old dog new tricks, okay? He's 75 years old, okay? He's old enough to run for president. Like,
that's
he'd be 3 years younger than Trump and 6 years younger than Biden.
Emma Darcy has only one line in A Sun for Sun, and they do so much with their eyes and their face that they absolutely dominate the episode. And then maybe they edited it again. I don't think it flowed this well. Yeah, I think it's been edited since the time I saw it. I think he's edited it. Okay, George, or whatever intern panically typed to edit this. You win this one. Oh boy.
What happened to the sci-fi wildcard series they were going to do? I don't know.
It's there with the Night Flyers.
Bill Clinton is younger than Joe Biden. I mean, I'm saying like, how old's Bill Clinton age? Bill Clinton's 77, so he's young. He's younger than Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. I copied and pasted it to Carmine when I saw it. He says they does so much with their eyes and their face that they dominates the episode. That's what it was originally. Somebody went back and revised it.
They dominate the episode. They do. Yeah. Well.
Oh, gosh.
I'm more for. I wish that did you ever know, like the using the pronoun Z as like a gender neutral pronoun? Like, you ever heard about that idea? Like saying, like, instead of he and she, saying Z.
Yeah, I have heard that.
I think that probably would work better than they, but they exist.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about?
Oh no, you go.
Oh, I was just saying. Did I ever tell you about like Chinese pronouns?
No. Tell me about Chinese pronouns. I don't know.
It's actually really fascinating. So in Chinese, there are. So in spoken Chinese, you, I, you, and he, she, it are pretty simple. So I is wo, you, ni, and he, she, it, ta, and it's the same for me. So and like in the accusative sense. So like I give to you and you give to me is still like wo ge ni ge wo. It's very simple. Now, what's interesting is that there's 3 tas in Chinese written, because spoken they're all just ta, but there's 3 tas written. And you might say, like, well, why are there 3 tas written? And the answer is actually Westernization. When Chinese academics were translating stuff. They wanted to maintain the textual accuracy of the literature. And so when they came across something that said she, they would use she, even though there is no spoken she in Chinese. They have another ta for God as well, to maintain the capital God for God. They have another ta for that as well. There's actually a fourth ta. So now what's interesting is, so the Chinese Chinese originally had no gender pronouns, but because they wanted to maintain the textual accuracy of Western literature, they added them. But now that things are happening politically again, like they actually started texting TA to each other now instead of putting one of those tas.
Whoa!
So now they're going back. Yeah. Because it's interesting because people will be like, oh, is that westernization again, like removing gender? Yes, it is. But it's like two waves of westernization. Like the first wave of westernization, like forced the genderization. And then another wave of westernization, like, is removing it. So now people like text TA when they want, like, if you're trying to be progressive and not using, like, people that don't, genderize, they're like, oh, TA. They'll just put it in.
That's so cool. Dang, that's really cool. I never thought of how that works in other languages, like the gender non-binary kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Pronouns. Wow. That's real cool.
Why are we trying to change the fucking English language? How am I supposed to figure out if a person with a beard and a dress wants to be called a woman or a man? I mean, language is constantly changing. We change language all the time. So that's not the thing, but it's like, it's more that, we're trying to figure this out now, again, like, you don't need to figure out like what somebody wants to be called, like, again. And I think if somebody gets too angry at you, if you make a mistake, that it's a little far, which is what we're talking about. The people that were angry at George R. Martin, like, went too far. Like, he's 75 years old. You're born, and raised and gone your entire life, like genderizing people a certain way. Like, it's a fairly new thing. It's, people slip all the time. I slip all the time. People weren't, being angry at George R. Martin is a little silly, and, it's, cause it's built in, but again, it's but yeah, I mean, people change the language all the time. Like, that's just silly. It is on a theory driving me crazy. In a nutshell, could the Finrog's dagger be a proto-ring transformed by Sauron, affecting Galadriel? Terrible. Sorry for imposing on you. It requires your eye. Provide a link.
So Finrod is Galadriel's brother in the first episode, and he dies. And when he's on his deathbed, whatever, he has the dagger, and she takes it with her. I guess that's the base. He's just trying to say, is like, is he going to use that metal for the dagger to make the One Ring?
Didn't they already establish that the metal came from Elrond's ore sample? From within Moria. At least for the Elven rings. I mean, I guess we haven't like figured out what they're using for the One Ring, but at least for the Elven rings, they established that it was the ore sample.
Right. So it's possible.
Yeah.
This is definitely a conversation to have with our boy Yoyston, who I believe is asleep right now.
That's true. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being with me. It is late. Thank you, Trey. Thank you, Carmine. Thank you, everyone, for staying up this late. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Bye.
Bye.